Chapter 1037. DMO Xian, who was seated at the main seat, leaned back on the soft chair with an extremely lazy expression. After hearing the director's words, he shot a glance at the director with an elegant expression. Devil class's achievements are all due to the student's ability, it has nothing to do with me. Yes. The director agreed with a flattering smile, obviously treating DMO Xian's words as an excuse. Devil class's students, just based on Yiqing Luo alone, could bring along 9 waste to pass the Heavenly Pagoda's ability assessment. The director would rather believe that all these were due to DMO Xian's transformation of those waste in the past few months. DMO Xian was too lazy to explain. He lifted his eyelids lazily as his vision was fixed on the figure who had already disappeared from the heavenly square. His eyes were slightly deep. Senior MO, let's take a look at the second class to successfully walk out of the heavenly pagoda. The director hadn't finished his words. Suddenly, he felt a cold breeze brushing past his cheeks. His white robe fluttered in the wind. Like a deity, he flashed past the director's eyes. Senior MO. The director hurriedly stood up and wanted to chase after him. But he saw that white figure, in a blink of an eye, had already disappeared in front of him. Senior MO? The director was astonished, puzzled about Senior Mo's departure. But he saw many gazes, because he had stood up, all looked over. He then put on a gentle smile and sat back down. His white brows creased slightly as his vision looked towards the empty seat. There was no Senior Mo's figure. Senior Mo he. What was the reason for him to leave in such a hurry? After coming out of the heavenly pagoda, the 10 of their souls had more or less suffered some impact. Especially the second round of the 3 corpses test, the illusion of greed, anger and obsession. It was the most impactful to the soul. After returning to Devil class, there was no extra energy to discuss with the other students about the things in the heavenly pagoda. One by one, they dispersed and went back to rest. After Yiqing Luo showed the few students, she gave each of them a stabilizing pill and returned to the dormitory with Mo Yuing. In the dormitory there were only the 2 of them, it was extremely quiet. Yiqing Luo entered her own room and directly fell onto the bed. This fall, before she hit the bed, her petite body fell into a broad and warm embrace. A soothing sandalwood fragrance wafted into his nostrils. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes and attached her body and mind onto the man, her tone was gentle. Why are you here? Wasn't he still watching the test of strength at the head seat of the Heavenly Plaza just now? If you're not here, what's the point of me staying? DMO Xian hugged the young lady in his arms tightly. His long eyelashes drooped as he gazed at her delicate little face. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as her little face rubbed against his chest. Following that, she opened her eyes and stared deeply at DMO Xian's face. Her slender little hand caressed his contours. I missed you. Miss him. Ever since she came out of the illusion, she had been thinking about him. Especially at that moment, her mind was filled with this man. The illusion told her. How important was this man to her? Her greed was only for the sake of being qualified to stand by his side. Her resentment was only because she wanted to possess everything he had. She wanted him to belong to her for all eternity. Her obsession was only to stay with him, to have a family that belonged to them, to have a child that belonged to them. Yiqing Luo slowly tiptoed, as her arms encircled his neck, and her lips pressed against his lips. Chapter 1038. DMO Xian squinted his eyes as he stared deeply at the young lady's flushed face. She rarely relied on him so actively. What had she met in the ability assessment? DMO Xian's hand, which was around her slender waist, moved upwards and held onto the back of her head as he turned from guest to host, deepening the kiss. Usually when he kissed in such an overbearing manner, Yiqing Luo would more or less struggle. But, this time round, Yiqing Luo cooperated as her soft tongue probed into his mouth. Yiqing Luo's initiative made DMO Xian lose his rationality. His eyes gradually deepened as a ball of passion flared up from the bottom of his eyes. He intensified the kiss. In the end, Yiqing Luo could only hang on Dmo Xian's body softly, leaving an ambiguous low moan and clear stream. Separated by a thin robe, Dmo Xian's large palm instinctively moved along the soft petite body. Ah Xian! Yiqing Luo frantically stretched out her hand as she pressed on his large palm. This made her suddenly recall the things that Dmo Xian had done to her in the dreamland when she was infatuated with him. With his beloved in his arms, he lowered his eyes to take a look. The young lady's eyes were like silk and her face was like a peach blossom. With a moist luster, her red and swollen lips seemed to be emitting a silent seduction. As long as it was a man, upon seeing this amorous scene, how could he possibly stop? Dmo Xian was a normal man. Especially when Yiqing Luo took the initiative to kiss him and confessed without any concealment. At this moment, Dmo Xian had already descended into madness as he pressed Yiqing Luo onto the bed behind him. Ah Xian! Yiqing Luo was in a daze from the kiss, but her consciousness was still clear. Her hands weakly pushed against Dmo Xian's chest. 3,000 strands of hair had already scattered under the man's slender fingers as it scattered onto the bed. He leaned forward as his elbows were propped on the side of her body. His deep and blurry peach blossom eyes seemed to be able to captivate her soul as he looked at her affectionately. The kiss landed on her lips once again. This kiss was overbearing and overbearing, as though he was going to swallow her whole into his stomach. Ah Xian, ah Xian. Yiqing Luo's lashes were wet as her petite body instinctively twisted due to his teasing. Her little hand, which was pushing Dmo Xian's chest, turned into a tight grip on his clothes. Dmo Xian pecked at her swollen red lips that were stained with crystals. She moved slightly and her long legs brushed against his legs from time to time. She panted lightly, her warm breath splashing on his face. Dmo Xian's body tensed up, his breathing erratic and his eyes dark and gloomy. He stared at her bashfully. Her long hair was drenched in sweat and scattered over her shoulders. A few more strands stuck to her face. That soft and delicate body would rub against his from time to time. Dmo Xian only felt a scorching sensation surging towards his lower abdomen. Dmo Xian wasn't unfamiliar with this feeling. Every single time he kissed Yiqing Luo, he would have this feeling. Yiqing Luo apparently felt it too. She blushed and struggled to break free from his grip. Ah Xian, you can't do it here, she said. Ah Xian, she admitted that just one kiss from Dmo Xian was enough to make her feel uncomfortable all over. They loved each other. Naturally, he also wanted to have her. But, at this moment in a place like the academy, she didn't know how many people from the dark forces were around, nor how many of the director's spies were there. Yiqing Luo still had a sliver of rationality left, and when Dmo Xian's fingers undid her belt, she swiftly grabbed his arm. This man, why was his mind filled with such things? Chapter 1039. Dmo Xian's eyes were burning with desire as he stared at the blushing young lady below him. Lil Luo, you really don't mean what you say. He stretched out his slender fingers and caressed her lips. His slightly calloused fingertips caressed her lip, causing Yiqing Luo's petite body to tremble slightly. He leaned close to her ear as his thin lips brushed past her earlobe as he gave a low chuckle. If I really stop, can you bear to? Yiqing Luo's cheeks turned even redder as she shyly shifted her gaze away. I can bear to, quickly get off. Really bear to? Dmo Xian squinted his long peach blossom eyes as that finger which was caressing her pink lips slowly moved downwards. I need to confirm if you're lying. His finger. His gaze swept across the softness of her chest, across her flat stomach, and straight down. Yiqing Luo's trembling became more and more intense as she wanted to struggle and raise her fist to pound on his chest. When his fingertips touched something, the desire in his eyes grew even more intense. He half propped himself up as he slowly retracted his hand as his eyes were filled with an evil charm. Still want to quibble? Yiqing Luo was embarrassed as she bit her lower lip tightly as her eyelashes were already wet. This man, must he make her so embarrassed that she couldn't see anyone before he was willing to stop? How could he touch that place of hers? Lil Luo, this is your punishment for quibbling. His elbow relaxed as his burning hot chest pressed against her petite body. Yiqing Luo panicked as her watery eyes stared at him pitifully. Ah Xian, let go of me, can you let go of me first? The man's body became even more tensed. His body was pressed against hers. He leaned close to her ear as he laughed softly. Lil Luo, let me tell you. This is the consequence of a woman seducing a man. He leaned forward and was about to. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo suddenly arched her body as she took the initiative to kiss his lips. Following that, she exerted force and pressed Dmo Xian down. Dmo Xian, who was preparing to take action, had eyes filled with desire as he totally didn't notice. He was directly pressed under Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's long legs stretched out and pressed against his abdomen as she stretched out her hand to support his chest. Ah Xian, I didn't expect Lil Luo to be so passionate. Dmo Xian narrowed his eyes but didn't forcefully push her down again. He spread his arms, his long and charming peach blossom eyes flowed with an intoxicating light. He stuck out his tongue seductively and licked his thin lips, as if he wanted more of her taste. Since that is the case, I will reluctantly allow Lil Luo to be on top. However, can Lil Luo really do it? Yiqing Luo stared at him. About the matters between the upper and lower levels, we can talk about it in the future. We can't talk about it in the academy. She couldn't stop this man from going crazy. He could only forcefully suppress him. Only then could he regain his rationality. You want me to stop? Dmo Xian raised his eyebrows. Due to his endurance, his forehead was dripping with perspiration, messing up his black hair. Some of that black hair fell on his face like a cloud of smoke. She sprinkled a handful of it on the bed, adding a suffocating charm to this man of peerless elegance. Yiqing Luo knew how hard he was enduring as she bent over and kissed his thin lips, echoing his thoughts. There are too many spies in the academy, and those students will definitely return to the dormitory to rest after they pass the round. You don't want to be disturbed in the middle, right? Dmo Xian's handsome face twitched as his brows creased. We still have a very, very long time to be together, so there's no hurry, right? Yiqing Luo caressed his face as she persuaded him in a gentle voice. Dmo Xian remained silent for a moment as he fixed his gaze on her, trying to please him. Chapter 1040. Yiqing Luo instantly blushed. This man was really Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo helplessly closed his hand, which was clasping her lower jaw. Don't you feel that this ability test is a little strange? Dmo Xian had been watching from the side. He should have heard the master's description of the test in the heavenly pagoda. She could tell that there was something wrong with this ability test. Dmo Xian should have sensed it. Indeed, after mentioning the ability test, Dmo Xian's eyes, which were filled with anger, gradually turned dark and gloomy. He frowned slightly and slowly retracted his hand from Yiqing Luo's hand. With a flip, he flipped down from Yiqing Luo's body and laid sideways. Following that, his long arms stretched out and wrapped around Yiqing Luo's body, pulling her into his embrace tightly. A hand, coincidentally, landed somewhere in front of her chest. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled as she raised her hand to slap his unruly hand. The man intentionally squeezed his palm. Why? You want me to stop? Aren't you going to give me some benefits? Yiqing Luo's face flushed red. The hand which was holding onto his wrist slid down, but she didn't stop him or ask for any benefits. She only muttered softly, "Don't move." Dmo Xian's narrow long eyes dimmed slightly as his lips curled meaningfully. "Don't worry, I will only touch and not move." These words sounded a little wrong? Why did she feel that? Was it because of some color? Had she been led astray by Dmo Xian? Yiqing Luo shook her head, trying to get rid of the wild thoughts in her mind. She heard the man's low hoarse voice. You should have sensed it in the heavenly pagoda. This test is not the so-called ability test, but another kind of test. Yiqing Luo collected those messy thoughts in her eyes and nodded. Yes, it is a test of the student's soul. It involved the soul, and that was the king of darkness from the dark forces. The director was working with the dark forces. Which meant to say, this ability test was in fact to help the king of darkness to select a pure profound cultivator's soul as a sacrifice. Or perhaps, the interclass competition was suddenly brought forward by 5 months. It caused a huge sensation in Nirvana realm. This was also what the king of darkness wanted. I don't understand. Why did the dark forces suddenly need souls so urgently? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she leaned into Dmo Xian's arms, raising her head to look at him. Moreover, they urgently need pure and clean souls. Dmo Xian added. That was right. He desperately needed a pure and clean soul. Could it be that something happened to the King of Darkness? Right now, this was the only explanation. The King of Darkness had been chased out of the Nirvana realm hundreds of years ago. He had endured for hundreds of years. It was impossible for him not to be willing to wait for a few short years. Through the heavenly Dean, the King of Darkness must have gathered thousands of souls. He was not in a hurry to revive immediately. Unless the King of Darkness was in trouble. That was why he continued to sense the pure soul of a profound practitioner, to replenish his dark energy, and to undo the seal on his body ahead of time. If that was the case, those students who had passed the 3 tests of the Upper Profound Pagoda or the 3 Corpses Illusory Realm test in the second test would be able to cleanse themselves of their greed, anger, and obsession. I'm afraid it's going to be dangerous. They would become the targets of the dark forces. Chapter 1041. His 5 slender fingers subconsciously clenched. It felt so good that he couldn't bear to part with it. Yiqing Luo felt as if she got an electric shock. She raised her fist and hammered him. We're talking about serious matters. Can you stop fooling around? Driving off at the slightest disagreement. She wasn't able to react in time. Dmo Xian's body leaned slightly as he leaned closer to her and immediately lowered his head as he planted a kiss on her lips. Aren't I talking about serious matters with you? Yiqing Luo patted the back of his hand. Take your hand away. Dmo Xian raised his brows, a mischievous glint flashed past his eyes. Immediately, his fingers became more and more wanton. Yiqing Luo couldn't struggle at all. She could only blush and hold his hand tightly, not letting him move. Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with smiles. He really loved her bashful look. This kind of expression that only fell for him. Yiqing Luo's face was flushed red and she was about to get angry. Dmo Xian then restrained himself and pretended to be serious as he continued. Once the news of the dark forces infiltrating Nirvana realm is spread to the upper realm will definitely send someone to carry out the second expulsion. Second expulsion? Yiqing Luo's thoughts were instantly diverted. She looked up and frowned doubtfully. Will the people from the upper realm know about this? Nirvana realm was also known as the mortal realm. As for the upper realm, it was a realm that spanned a distance of 108,000 miles. It was the upper realm that was far above the upper realm. How could the upper realm know about the news of the mortal realm? Every realm in the upper realm will send 1 to 10 peace messengers to hide their identity and live in the next realm. This is also a way to keep each other in check and maintain peace. Dmo Xian explained. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up when she heard that. That means there are people from the upper realm in our Nirvana realm? The peace messengers of Nirvana realm are from the earth realm. Dmo Xian's tone was indifferent. His tone and expression made it seem like the people from the earth realm were just trash to him. People from the earth realm? To Yiqing Luo, this was an exciting thing. After all, if a person who was called trash in the earth domain came to the Nirvana realm, that person would be called a high-level profounder. It was precisely because the people of each plane were not on the same level in terms of ability, talent, and strength. That was why the ambassadors of peace were needed to keep each other in check. This was the only way to prevent people from other planes from going to a lower plane and stirring up trouble. If the people from the upper realm intervene, the dark forces without the King of Darkness will not be able to do anything. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment. Moreover, once the matter regarding the King of Darkness is known by the people from the upper realm, in order to prevent future troubles, the people from the upper realm will definitely think of a way to eliminate all future troubles. Diamo Xian nodded with a smile. Lil Luer is indeed smart. Just a few words and you can already deduce most of it. It was rare to be praised by Diamo Xian. Yiqing Luo's face blushed slightly as she lowered her eyelids and snuggled into his arms. So, because of me, the news of the dark forces has already spread throughout the Nirvana realm. The King of Darkness wants to remove the seal as soon as possible so that he can take over the Nirvana realm as soon as possible. During the confrontation with the patriarch of the Yuchi family, she had thrown out the dark forces and had already infiltrated into the Nirvana realm. Furthermore, she had made use of the dark forces' forbidden arts to control quite a number of people. In the Nirvana realm, there were people who could be called out by their names. Chapter 1042. After that, under the deliberate embellishment of the 3,000 peach blossoms, numerous Nirvana realm's younger generation now all knew about the viciousness of the dark forces. They also knew about the battle between the dark forces and Nirvana realm. Which cultivator would allow their territories to be occupied by others? If they were willing to be occupied, now Nirvana realm would not be divided into four. Yiqing Luo had grasped these people's mentality, so she specially took the opportunity of that battle to spread the news. During the interclass competition, you'd better be careful. The dark force's final target is you. Diamo Xian's hand finally stopped teasing her. If he continued to tease her, in the end, the one who would feel uncomfortable would be himself. He gently caressed Yiqing Luo's hair as his voice was gentle. Lil Luo, leave the dark forces matters to me and the Imperial Palace to settle. You just need to protect yourself, understand? But the dark forces were not something that she could avoid even if she wanted to. Right from the start, the dark forces' target was her. Even if she didn't initiate contact with the dark forces, the dark forces would definitely revolve around her. I will be by your side. Diamo Xian's lips curled up as his fingertips gently rubbed her eyes. You should be tired after the Heavenly Pagoda assessment. Have a good rest. Yiqing Luo was just about to reply, but the drowsiness made it hard for her to resist. Her long eyelashes fluttered as she fell into a deep sleep. Diamo Xian gazed deeply at the sleeping person in his arms as his dense long lashes drooped slightly. He slowly retracted his hand, which was used as a pillow, as he quietly left the bed. His gaze congealed outside the window. Wind, what's the matter? Yes. If it wasn't for the fact that he sensed Wind was outside the window, looking for him urgently, how could Diamo Xian possibly stop being intimate with Yiqing Luo because of the dark forces? Wind had always been sensible. If it wasn't an urgent matter, he would definitely not do so. As expected, Diamo Xian's words had just ended when a black shadow flashed past. A black-robed young man with a sword by his waist knelt in front of Diamo Xian. Overlord, the Imperial Palace has an express secret letter to report. Diamo Xian nodded slightly. He glanced at the person who was sleeping soundly on the bed. His deep eyes darkened as he said indifferently, "Take good care of her." Wind cupped his fists. Understood. By the time Yiqing Luo woke up, it was already the next morning. Outside the dormitory, there were several female students conversing loudly. Lu Xiaoyu's anger and Mo Yuying's emotionless voice could be heard. Trash class is trash, Yudon is trash, and you don't have the ability. A trashy class will always be a trashy class. You don't even have the ability to participate in the interclass competition. This voice was rather familiar. Immediately after, another voice could be heard. Mo Yuing, look at your cowardly look. I can easily push you down with one finger. Perhaps that person really went to push Mo Yuing. Then, Lu Xiaoyu's delicate voice rang out, let's see who dares to move. Just a few days ago, he was still fawning over Qing Luo, and today, he wanted to bully Qing Luo's classmate. If you dare to make a move, I will go to the faculty council and complain. Go ahead. The vice president is here. If you have the ability, go ahead. That female student snorted, full of disdain. Chapter 1043. Enough. Lu Shuiyu's voice was icy cold. Making a ruckus in the dormitory, what a scandal. Those few female students humphed softly and kept their mouths shut. Yiqing Luo finally understood. These few people, weren't they those students who came to the dormitory during the holidays to please her? So quickly, they were bought over by Lu Shuiyu again? Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. She wondered what was the meaning of these rich young ladies forming cliques all day long. As if they were able to hug someone's thigh, they would be able to bully others. Yiqing Luo only heard a few sentences and roughly guessed the situation outside. Probably because of the Heavenly Pagoda's ability assessment. As a high-profound class student, Lu Shuiyu naturally felt embarrassed. These female students, once again hugged Lu Shuiyu's thigh, naturally wanted to stand up for their eldest sister. So they came to Yiqing Luo's dormitory and found Mo Yuing, who stayed in the same dormitory as Yiqing Luo, who was also a devil class student, to vent their anger. When Lu Xiaoyu saw this, she would definitely be infuriated and lend a helping hand. Which resulted in the current situation. In the dormitory hall, Lu Shuiyu sat elegantly on the wooden chair, her fingers hooked around the teacup as she took a sip. Student Lu Xiaoyu, please remember that this is the dormitory, this is the academy, not a place for a spoilt child like you to throw a tantrum. You. Lu Xiaoyu's face flushed red as she pointed at Lu Shuiyu furiously. That's right, so what if I'm spoilt by my parents? At least I live honestly, I know what friendship is, and how to protect my friends. Speaking of this, Lu Xiaoyu's lips curled upwards, revealing a sneer of ridicule. Right, we share the same surname Lu, but our statuses are different. You're the noble eldest Miss Lu, I'm just an ordinary, well-off Lu family's youngest daughter, but at least I have my father, my mother dotes on me, loves you. You, other than that pitiful arrogance, what else do you have? Lu Xiaoyu's words were powerful and resonant. The expression on her face was filled with righteousness. Lu Shuiyu's face turned green and white. Seeing the change in Lu Shuiyu's expression, the female students behind her immediately stepped forward and pushed Lu Xiaoyu. How dare you insult the vice president? This young lady will teach you a lesson on behalf of the vice president. With that, she raised her hand and slapped Lu Xiaoyu's face. However, this slap did not have the time to land. However, a small pink figure rushed over. His small head happened to bump into the female student's abdomen. The female student felt an excruciating pain, as if her internal organs had been shattered. She collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Mo Yuing? The other 4 female students stared at Mo Yuing in disbelief. This trash dared to use his head to talk back to them? A female student's expression instantly turned ferocious. She had long disliked Mo Yuing's small stature. She looked small and delicate, like an 11 or 12-year-old little girl, but she purposely put on a stupid expression. She had seduced quite a few students in the academy, and they were all interested in Mo Yuing. This Mo Yuing, who had always been bullied, never retaliated when hit, never retaliated when scolded. She dared to use her head to hurt their people. Mo Yuing, how dare you hit a student in front of the vice president? Chapter 1044. 4 female students surrounded Mo Yuing with a sinister expression. Their faces were filled with disdain as though they were trying to strangle an ant. How dare you? I'm going to tell the director. Lu Xiaoyu frantically pulled Mo Yuing over and stood in front of her. She couldn't beat these few female students, but she absolutely could not let Mo Yuing get hurt. Mo Yuing was Yi Qing Luo's classmate and had saved her earlier. She had to protect Mo Yuing. Beat the both of them together. A female student shouted and got the support of the other 3 female students. All of them started to attack Lu Xiaoyu's back mercilessly. A shrill scream was heard. Then, a petite figure flew out into the sky. It crashed into Lu Xiaoyu's room door and gave out a heavy crash. Immediately it rolled onto the ground and spat out a big mouthful of blood. The direction it rolled towards was coincidentally Lu Xiaoyu's direction. This mouthful of blood coincidentally sprayed onto Lu Xiaoyu's skirt, splattering a patch of bright red. High profound class and intermediate profound class students can't afford to lose. A clear and melodious laughter was heard, like pearls falling onto a plate. Yi Qing Luo's room door was opened and Yi Qing Luo was dressed in a simple and loose green uniform as she leaned against the door lazily. Her slender fingers were playing with a strand of hair on her shoulder. Her stunning face was filled with ridicule. "I'm so sorry, devil class is so lucky, just happened to have 10 people. And snatched your first place." Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu's face was filled with joy as she immediately pulled Mo Yuing and dashed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. As long as Yi Qing Luo appeared, even if Lu Xiaoyu personally made a move, she would not be able to gain any advantage. After dashing to Yi Qing Luo's side, Lu Xiaoyu then made a face at Lu Xiaoyu's direction. Lu Xiaoyu narrowed her cold eyes and glanced at the blood stains on her skirt. She raised her leg without hesitation and kicked the female student who was beside her leg away. She immediately stood up and looked at Yi Qing Luo coldly. "Can't afford to lose?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. "Could it be that the vice president can afford to lose?" Yi Qing Luo gave a light laugh as she crossed her arms over her chest and walked towards her languidly. "I'm so sorry. Devil class got the first place in the ability assessment, so it's like the boat rises with the tide and you're so complacent. Why, you're not convinced." Lu Xiaoyu's face darkened. He opened his mouth and was about to speak when he was interrupted by Yi Qing Luo. "Even if the devil class doesn't have any abilities, they are still number 1 in the ability assessment. Even if they don't have the right to participate in the interclass competition, they still have the right to be number 1 in the ability assessment and participate in the interclass competition. Why, you're not convinced. My devil class, just because we got the first place, we use our connections to bully others. What about it? You're not convinced?" Lu Xiaoyu was rendered speechless by the 3 consecutive, "I'm not convinced." Following that, Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose as her eyes remained calm. "If you're not convinced, then hold it in. Yi Qing Luo, you're going too far." The female student who was standing beside Lu Xiaoyu stared at Yi Qing Luo in fear. As soon as he said those words, he shrank back as if he had seen a ghost. Yi Qing Luo didn't bother about that female student at all. Her charming eyes gazed at Lu Xiaoyu without blinking, waiting for her response. Lu Xiaoyu narrowed her cold eyes as her aloof expression turned frosty. After some time, she shifted her gaze away and left the dormitory without even turning back. In the dormitory hall, 3 female students laid on the ground and had been forgotten. Lu Xiaoyu didn't have the time to bother about them. Chapter 1045. Once Qing Luo appears, who dares to challenge her? Lu Xiaoyu smiled mischievously and stretched out her hand to hold Yi Qing Luo's arm. "Let's see how arrogant those people are going to be." Yi Qing Luo poked her forehead. "The most arrogant one is you." Lu Xiaoyu stuck out her tongue and rubbed her little face on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. "I'm not arrogant, this is called bravery, in order to protect the person I want to protect, incomparably brave." Yi Qing Luo was amused. Mo Yuing, who was standing behind them, stared at the 2 people who were laughing. His empty eyes blinked, as if he didn't understand why they were smiling so happily. After being frozen for some time, when Yi Qing Luo's smiling gaze met hers, Mo Yuing made a It was an action that shocked everyone present. She held on to Yi Qing Luo's arm expressionlessly, learning from Lu Xiaoyu's action, leaning her head on Yi Qing Luo's body. His little face rubbed against Yi Qing Luo's arm. After rubbing for some time, she took another look at the dazed Lu Xiaoyu and saw that her head was placed on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. Mo Yuing stretched out both her hands towards Yi Qing Luo as she jumped around with all her might, trying to reach Yi Qing Luo's shoulders. Yi Qing Luo burst into laughter as she slowly squatted down and wrapped her arms around Mo Yuying's petite body. "Shadow, come, let sister hug you." Mo Yuying's paralyzed face stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time. His gaze immediately fell onto Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. Stretching out her arm, she looped it around Yi Qing Luo's neck and placed her face on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. Yueying also knows how to act coquettishly. Lu Xiaoyu seemed to have discovered a new continent as her eyes were filled with amazement. "I thought that Yuing would only be like a wooden person, not easy to get along with. I didn't expect that. Yuing is so cute." Mo Yuing ignored her screams, only quietly burying it on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. His face was still expressionless, but his pair of lifeless eyes was gradually covered with a faint expression. Yi Qing Luo was really warm. It made her feel human warmth. Devil class. After passing the strength test yesterday, the souls of the students had been impacted. One by one, they dispersed. As for Qiao Jin and Long Yunzhan, one went to the class committee room, and the other went to the spiritual Qi treasured land. Both of them were unable to calm down. He didn't show his face for an entire day. In the class committee room, Qiao Jin placed his feet on the wooden table and slumped into his chair. A pair of dark and gloomy eyes looked ahead without any focus. No one knew what he was thinking. Her long eyelashes couldn't hide the green at the corner of her eyes. It seemed like he hadn't slept all night. Indeed, he had not slept the entire night. As long as he closed his eyes, the image of a smiling face would appear in front of him. That smile was affectionate and sweet. Word by word, she called him gently, "Ah Jin." It was Yan Xiaoyi. His mind was filled with Yan Xiaoyi's smiling face. The Yan Xiaoyi in the illusion, the Yan Xiaoyi who had deep feelings for him. It was like a scene that kept replaying in his mind. Ever since he returned to Devil class, Qiao Jin had been sitting here, recalling everything that had happened in the dreamland. In his illusion, the first two were very normal. But in the infatuation of the third stage, he saw Yan Xiaoyi in the illusion, they were husband and wife. In the illusion, she gave him an enchanting smile, bewitching all living beings. In the illusion, they almost became one. He almost got corroded by the illusion and wanted to stay in the illusion, to spend the rest of his life with Yan Xiaoyi. The illusion of infatuation, why was it Yan Xiaoyi? Could it be that he towards Yan Xiaoyi? Chapter 1046. Her voice stopped abruptly when she saw the people in the class committee room. She turned around and walked away as though she didn't see Qiao Jin. This voice startled Qiao Jin. He looked up only to see her turn and leave. His brows furrowed, his body instinctively moving forward to grab her wrist. "Yan Xiaoyi, stop right there. Let go." Yan Xiaoyi pursed her red lips and flung his hand away. She didn't turn around to look at him. Qiao Jin held onto her shoulders forcefully and straightened her. "Running when you see me? Are you so afraid of me?" Yan Xiaoyi's face was sullen. She bit her red lips and was obviously angered by his words. "I'm afraid of you? Qiao Jin, don't you have any shame? Let go of me." Qiao Jin's jade-like eyes narrowed. There was an unfathomable depth in his eyes. He stared at the imprisoned Yan Xiaoyi, looking at her pretty face which was flushed with a faint blush due to sullen anger. Something soft seemed to have hit a certain spot in his heart. The empty spot in his heart seemed to have been filled up by something. This was the feeling he wanted. In the illusion, he was able to recognize the illusion, and it was also because this feeling was missing between him and Yan Xiaoyi. Xiao Jin, what do you want? You don't want to see me. So let's go our separate ways and not disturb each other. What else do you want? Yan Xiaoyi narrowed her eyes. She couldn't control the feelings that overflowed from the bottom of her heart when she touched him. She wanted to struggle, but Xiao Jin held her hands down after hearing her words. The door of the class committee room was slammed shut with a bang. Yan Xiaoyi's back was pressed against the wooden door. Xiao Jin held her arms high up and pressed her against the wall with one hand. Women were naturally weaker than men in terms of strength. Not to mention a man who was stronger than her. Yan Xiaoyi couldn't struggle at all. Instead, she was easily restrained by Xiao Jin. I don't want to see you? Xiao Jin narrowed his eyes and stared fixedly at the blushing young lady. He didn't know why, but a raging fire surged in his chest. He didn't want to hear any words like, I don't want to see him, or go our separate ways from Yan Xiaoyi's mouth. That rage burned Xiao Jin's rationality. At this moment, Xiao Jin didn't even know what he was doing. He only followed his own heart, the other hand, tightly wrapped around Yan Xiaoyi's waist. His slender fingers pinched her waist fiercely. Xiao Jin purposely moved closer to Yan Xiaoyi's ear when he said, and she gently exhaled a warm breath. Yan Xiaoyi's whole body trembled, her face blushing. She was embarrassed, but more so, she was angered by him. And me, I also don't want to see. A kiss, strong and domineering. It landed heavily on Yan Xiaoyi's red lip. Compared to the forceful kiss last time without any technique. This time, Xiao Jin clearly grasped the trick. After kissing her red lips, he began to nibble on them, teasing her. He didn't give Yan Xiaoyi any chance to defend herself. A strong masculine scent filled her nostrils. Yan Xiaoyi didn't have the strength to resist at all. Her entire body went limp in Xiao Jin's arms. She could barely breathe. This bastard, what did he want? Why did he suddenly kiss her? Xiaoyi. He stopped kissing her lips. His silver-haired lips slowly moved to her ears. His soft call was low and sexy. Yan Xiaoyi's delicate body instinctively trembled. Because of his deliberate exhalation, tiny goosebumps appeared on his pink skin. Chapter 1047. Your body's reaction tells me that your heart and your mouth are not the same. Xiao Jin's head rested on her shoulder. As he breathed in Yan Xiaoyi's cold fragrance, the feeling of his heart being filled grew stronger. He couldn't help but pull the corners of his lips, revealing a smile that even he himself didn't notice. You! Yan Xiaoyi's cheeks instantly turned red. Before he could react, she struggled to free her hands, raised her palms and threw a slap towards his face. Utterly shameless. As though he had guessed her next move. Coincidentally, Xiao Jin caught her slap and pressed it against the wooden door again. This is the first day you met me, and now you know that I'm shameless? You. Yan Xiaoyi was furious. Xiao Jin pursed his thin lips and stared at her slightly red cheeks. After a long while, he retracted his hands. He only gently wrapped his arms around her waist, his head still buried in her neck. Xiaoyi, don't say anything that will make me angry. Yan Xiaoyi's body stiffened. She couldn't get used to Xiao Jin's inexplicable gentleness and intimacy. It seemed, ever since Tao Tao had appeared, they could no longer get along like they used to. Especially after he forcefully kissed her and took away her first kiss, the atmosphere between them became increasingly strange. They shouldn't be like this. They were partners who cooperated with each other, brothers who supported each other. If they were tainted with feelings, between them, it wouldn't be that pure anymore. Feelings, she really didn't want to be tainted, didn't want to touch them. Especially when the other party was Xiao Jin. The person he liked wasn't her. Yan Xiaoyi had her own pride and dignity. If Xiao Jin didn't love her, she wouldn't take the initiative to express her feelings. She wouldn't give Xiao Jin any chance to hurt her. Wouldn't wait for her to confess her true feelings, and then watch him be with another woman. And leave her alone to feel sad. Yan Xiaoyi's expression gradually turned cold. Her delicate face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. She looked at the man on top of her, her voice cold. Qiao Jin, if you don't want me to make you angry, then let me go. I didn't come here to look for you. If Tong Ziqing hadn't told her that Long Yunzhan was waiting for her in the class committee room, saying that he had something to discuss with her regarding the ability test, it was impossible for her to come here. He did not expect to enter the class committee room. There was only Qiao Jin here. Long Yunzhan wasn't here at all. She realized that she had been fooled by Tong Ziqing. She wanted to leave, but Qiao Jin didn't let her. He was clearly the one who had been avoiding her. You're not looking for me? Looking for the class leader? Qiao Jin sneered, and the hand that was wrapped around her waist suddenly tightened. So, seeing that the class monitor isn't here, you're disappointed? He clearly knew that the relationship between Yan Xiaoyi and Long Yunzhan was that of companions and brothers. However, the words slipped out of his mouth on their own. He couldn't stop her. He could only use his jade-like eyes to stare deeply at her expression. He wanted to see through her eyes and see what she was thinking. As expected, Yan Xiaoyi's expression was sullen. The petite body nestled in his arms was also trembling with anger. Qiao Jin, get lost! Yan Xiaoyi bellowed. How could he insult her like this? It doesn't matter if you don't like her. Why did he use such words to belittle her feelings? In his eyes, were her feelings that cheap? As long as it was a man, she could accept it? He couldn't be clearer about the relationship between her and the class monitor, wasn't he? Yan Xiaoyi only felt that she was in an icehouse, so cold that it was bone-chilling. It wasn't just the coldness of her body. Chapter 1048. After a long while, Yan Xiaoyi's long eyelashes fluttered. She looked up with a calm gaze and said emotionlessly, "Yes, I'm very disappointed that I didn't see the class monitor." After a pause, her lips curled and a self-mocking sneer flashed across her eyes. "Especially, seeing you here, I'm even more disappointed." That feeling of coldness was accompanied by pain. Bone-chilling cold and bone-chilling pain. Her remaining pride was trampled on by him. Yan Xiaoyi, this mouth of yours really makes people want to ruthlessly seal it. Qiao Jin's eyes darkened and his dark eyes were filled with anger. His body pressed down and his long, slender legs forced their way between her legs. His fingers clasped the back of her head, and he fiercely kissed her mouth, which always said things that made him uncontrollably furious. This woman was more adorable when she didn't speak. Yan Xiaoyi moaned softly and raised her hand to hit his chest, struggling to not let him invade. Perhaps men were naturally talented in this aspect. Qiao Jin, who only had 2 kissing experiences, had already learned the essence. He easily turned Yan Xiaoyi's resistance into nothingness. She couldn't move at all. She forced herself to accept Qiao Jin's domineering kiss. This kiss didn't make Yan Xiaoyi feel the slightest bit of sweetness. Instead, there was intense pain and bitterness. He didn't love her, but he did such things to her several times. He even slandered her relationship with Long Yunzhan. Yan Xiaoyi remembered it clearly. The last time when Qiao Jin kissed her forcefully, he clearly didn't have any technique and only knew how to bite her. This time, she felt weak all over and couldn't handle it. Although she didn't understand, she understood common sense. This kind of technique wasn't something that could be mastered after just 1 or 2 times. Was it Tao Tao? This name made Yan Xiaoyi feel even more bitter. Women always liked to let their imaginations run wild. At this moment, it was inevitable that she would make wild guesses because of Qiao Jin's change. Was it because of the critical moment of the interclass competition and Qiao Jin couldn't appear to see Tao Tao, so he used her as a substitute? Would he kiss Tao Tao after he got better at it? Her eyes suddenly widened. Unconcealable pain flashed across her eyes. Qiao Jin captured this trace of pain. His kiss paused for a moment. Following that, Qiao Jin's kiss became even more ferocious. Did she hate his kisses that much? Did she really not want him to touch her? He wanted her to remember his kiss and his taste. He wanted her to become just like him, only thinking about him in her head. This thought caused a certain impulse in Qiao Jin's heart to become even more intense. Yan Xiaoyi was kissed until she could only lean on him and barely stand up straight. He wanted to struggle, but it felt like he was scratching an itch. On the contrary, it seemed like he was trying to resist, but he was trying to entice Qiao Jin. She turned her head to avoid his kiss. In the next instant, her body felt light as Qiao Jin carried her by the waist. Ah! She was so frightened that she let out a soft cry. Only the sound of things falling to the ground could be heard. Then, her body was placed on the table. Yan Xiaoyi had yet to react and was about to get up. Qiao Jin's boiling hot body had already pressed down. Qiao Jin. Yan Xiaoyi realized something and her expression changed instantly. What are you doing? Qiao Jin gave a low laugh and kissed her neck. Can't you tell what I want to do? As soon as his kiss touched her skin, she felt a chill run down her spine. Yan Xiaoyi trembled all over. Her eyes were already wet. Those were tears from being angered by Qiao Jin. And tears from being seduced by Qiao Jin. Chapter 1049. Do you know what you're doing? Yan Xiaoyi panted lightly, trying her best to restrain her cloud of emotions. Qiao Jin lifted his head, his elbow propped on the side of her body. I don't know. Yan Xiaoyi was speechless and turned her face away. She really had nothing to say to this man. What did he want to do? Did he feel a sense of achievement by teasing her? This level can make you absent-minded? Qiao Jin's voice suddenly came close to her ear. That voice with a hint of desire, under deliberate suppression, revealed a husky magnetism. Looks like I have to work harder. As soon as he finished speaking, his warm, thin lips sucked on her earlobe. Yan Xiaoyi moaned, her consciousness about to disperse. Qiao Jin's eyes leapt up with a hint of a smile. He liked to see Yan Xiaoyi reveal such an expression because of him. He liked to hear Yan Xiaoyi's coquettish voice. He wanted Yan Xiaoyi's mind to be filled with only him. His actions became more and more fanatical. Her meaning became more and more abstracted. Her entire body had already turned into a puddle of water, bearing all of Qiao Jin's actions. Yan Xiaoyi only came back to her senses when she felt a chill in front of her. Her top had been unbuttoned at some point. Qiao Jin's kiss was about to fall. She raised her hand and slapped Qiao Jin's face. Pah! A deafening sound, extremely loud and clear. It also smashed the ambiguous feelings between the two of them. Qiao Jin's dark jade eyes, filled with desire, gradually focused and fixed on Yan Xiaoyi's face. His pupils contracted, his face somewhat pale. What was he doing? Why did he feel like he couldn't control himself when he saw Yan Xiaoyi? At that time, he saw Yan Xiaoyi walk into the class committee room. He was ecstatic. He saw her turn and leave. He knew that he couldn't let her leave just like that. So, he stopped Yan Xiaoyi. He didn't want Yan Xiaoyi to leave. He used such a method to force her to stay. He just to Yan Xiaoyi so sorry. Qiao Jin turned over and got up from her. His entire body was tense, unable to recover from his loss of control. At this moment, if Qiao Jin still didn't understand his feelings. If so, he would be even more of a pig than a pig. He liked Yan Xiaoyi. He didn't know when it started, but he had fallen in love with this girl. She was always bickering with him, never obeying his orders, and yet he couldn't take his eyes off her. However, he had done such a thing to her. It was the first time they hugged secretly. The second forceful kiss. The third time, he pinned her under his body. She must hate him to the core. No, he could not let her hate him. Qiao Jin clenched his fists and prepared himself mentally. He turned around and lowered his head to apologize to Yan Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi, I'm sorry, you can hit me or scold me, don't hate me. Before he could say the word, another resounding slap landed on his face. Yan Xiaoyi clutches her clothes tightly and slides down from the table. Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin pursed his lips, not dodging. He could only endure her anger. He lifted his eyes and looked at Yan Xiaoyi. As long as she calmed down, she could hit him however she wanted. However, when he saw Yan Xiaoyi, Qiao Jin's gaze couldn't be shifted away. Yan Xiaoyi was so embarrassed that her face was red to the ears. Her lively beautiful eyes, under Yunliqing, added a bit of charm. To him, that was a fatal poison. He opened his mouth, wanting to express his feelings. Chapter 1050. Qiao Jin was slightly taken aback as he saw Yan Xiaoyi gathering her clothes and getting up to escape. In his panic, he immediately grabbed her arm. Xiaoyi, listen to me. His voice suddenly paused. Because he saw Yan Xiaoyi's reddened eyes. She stared at him with her beautiful, watery eyes that were tinged with redness. That delicate little face was expressionless. Qiao Jin's heart felt as if it was being pierced by needles, a tearing pain. Yan Xiaoyi, such a strong-willed woman. Such a strong woman. Even in the Yan family, Yan Zhenfei deliberately ostracized and framed him. She was a truly talented young lady of the Yan family, but she had been reduced to a useless servant girl who was despised by the entire Yan family. She was able to grit her teeth and endure it. With her own ability, she had secretly made plans for her future. After entering the devil class, her innate talent caught the eye of Long Yunzhan. After formal training, she successfully joined the class committee. No matter how hard it was or how tired she never complained about it. She was so strong that she didn't seem like a woman. But now, she cried. Because of him, such a strong woman had cried. Looking at her reddened eyes, the words that Qiao Jin was about to say got stuck in his throat and he couldn't spit them out. His heart was filled with grief. His heart ached to the extreme. His grip on Yan Xiaoyi's hand gradually loosened. Yan Xiaoyi retracted her gaze, not wanting to look at him again. His eyes were filled with so much pain and so much passion. She almost had the illusion that he cared about her and valued her. He couldn't look anymore. If she fell into Qiao Jin's heart again, sooner or later she would not be herself. When the large palm on her wrist loosened, Yan Xiaoyi tightened her clothes and fled the class committee room. He did not give Qiao Jin the slightest chance to make him stay. The interclass competition was about to begin in half a month. Yiqing Luo kept all her thoughts and concentrated on giving these mercenaries the fastest and shortest explosive training. The training methods that the bunch of old fogies in the Hidden World Yi family trained the Death Warriors, were all used on the students of the Devil class. Each method was crueler than the previous. With DMO Xian's help, the effect was extremely obvious. The students also knew the importance of this competition, and all of them trained very hard. Their fighting spirit was high, and no one complained of tiredness. There were only 7 days left before the competition. Yiqing Luo gathered all the students and divided them into groups for confrontation. Last night, she told DMO Xian and another god thief, as they snuck into the Shangguan family's residence, opened their little treasury and directly stole 10 pieces of essence and above weapons. Among them were 2 supreme being grade weapons. Although it was a pure grade weapon, it was not the best. But, to be used as weapons for the students of Devil class, it was more than enough. Yiqing Luo was planning to wait till she met suitable ones in the future to forge a supreme grade weapon for each of them. When the 10 weapons were placed on a makeshift platform in the training ground, more than 60 students stared at them with their eyes wide open. Next, I will divide you into 10 teams. You can choose members from other teams and compete against each other. Who will emerge victorious? The eyes of over 60 students lit up. It was obvious that they were extremely interested in these weapons. Originally he thought that Yiqing Luo would say, whoever obtained victory would be able to obtain these weapons. Chapter 1051. The second round of competition. Yiqing Luo naturally let the 10 of them challenge Long Yunzhan, Yan Xiaoyi, Qiao Jin and Mo Yuing. As for Baiming Lulu, Yiqing Luo gave her several prescriptions, asking her to make the best use of her time to refine pills. As for the main output, these students were more than enough. With the main output, they still needed support and treatment. Baiming Lulu just happened to provide these 2 points. Moreover, as compared to training and fighting, Baiming Lulu apparently liked to refine pills more. After challenging the 4 members of the class committee, it was time to challenge DMO Xian. As long as they were able to last more than 10 rounds in DMO Xian's hands, they would obtain the rights to choose their weapons. When these students heard that, although they felt that this kind of round after round of competition was indeed too much for them, but they had to admit, it had aroused their fighting spirit. Even if there was no weapon as a reward, they also wanted to try their best to challenge the class committee, to challenge Supreme Mo. Looking at the students' fighting spirit, Yiqing Luo gave a satisfied smile. This battle is our battle to turn the tables. Let the other classes, and even the other academies, see clearly that we, Devil class, are not a waste class. Your current hard work will make your future filled with surprises. If you want to wash away the shame of being waste, then use your sweat to wipe away this shame. Remember this battle is not for me, not for Devil class, but for yourselves. For your own dignity, for your own future. I hope, in future no matter where you go, there will be people using an envious and worshipping tone to say to you, wow, you are Devil class's students. Devil class will become the synonym of your glory. Yiqing Luo's sonorous voice paused as her gaze swept past them. Do you have confidence? Yes. After 5 days of sleepless resistance. Finally, there were 2 students, who fought their way out of the tight encirclement, obtaining 2 weapons. One was Bei Ming Lianqing, the other was Tong Ziqing. Long Yunzhan and the others were all exhausted. Yan Xiaoyi and Mo Yuing were all covered with big and small injuries. Qiao Jin also couldn't avoid some external injuries. But the 4 of them had a relaxed and satisfied smile on their faces. Even Long Yunzhan, when he saw the students' huge improvement, his brows revealed a smile. However, what puzzled everyone was Yan Xiaoyi and Qiao Jin did not speak during these few days of training. They didn't say a word to each other. After accepting the challenge, he led his team to fight against Qiao Jin's team. Yan Xiaoyi did not hold back at all. On the contrary, it was Qiao Jin. When facing Mo Ying and Long Yunzhan's team, his attacks were ruthless and every move was fatal. But when it came to Yan Xiaoyi, he was so terrified that he retreated step by step. Other than passively receiving Yan Xiaoyi's attacks, he had no intention of retaliating. After a few times, Yan Xiaoyi directly refused to compete with Qiao Jin. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms in front of her chest as she squinted her eyes and stared at the strange atmosphere between the both of them. She nudged DMO Xian. What conflict are the both of them having this time? DMO Xian's shimmering peach blossom eyes glanced over as he shook his head. Apart from her, no one else mattered. Naturally, he would not bother to pay attention to it. On the other hand, Tong Ziqing, who was resting on the ground, put down the pure-grade whip in her hand and mumbled, "Maybe I helped the wrong person." Yiqing Luo raised her brows and squatted down to gossip. Tell me about it. Chapter 1052. She scratched her head, and a trace of awkwardness appeared on her cold and elegant face. I think they like each other. Watching them torment each other for a few days and hiding from each other isn't a good idea, so I decided to give them a push. Who would have thought that with this push, the 2 of them would no longer hide from each other? But it was obvious that Yan Xiaoyi had treated Qiao Jin as a stranger. Tong Ziqing's eyes dimmed as she subconsciously glanced at Long Yunzhan, who was as elegant as a bamboo. If once the relationship between the brothers was exposed, it would be very painful. We can't even be friends anymore? Then would it be the same for her and Long Yunzhan? I don't even have the right to accompany Long Yunzhan? After coming out from the illusion, Tong Ziqing had thought about confessing her feelings to Long Yunzhan. But, seeing Yan Xiaoyi and Qiao Jin like this, the courage that he had summoned with great difficulty was now gone. Yiqing Luo saw Tong Ziqing's inexplicable depressed expression. Following her gaze, he saw Long Yunzhan. He immediately understood. It was never a secret that Tong Ziqing liked Long Yunzhan. However, the target was Long Yunzhan. Yiqing Luo didn't know whether to persuade her to give up or to persist. He could only remain silent and not disturb Tong Ziqing's thoughts. Perhaps sensing Yiqing Luo's gaze, Long Yunzhan glanced sideways at her. His azure blue eyes became gentle. Yiqing Luo was just about to reply with a smile when her slender waist was suddenly pulled by someone. She fell right into Demo Xian's arms. She instinctively wrapped her arms around Demo Xian's neck and glared at him in annoyance. "Our classmates are all here." Demo Xian's deep eyes sunk. "So what if she's here? You are Supreme Mo now." Yiqing Luo's slender fingers poked Demo Xian's handsome face. "Don't divert the attention of the students." Demo Xian chuckled. "Who in the class doesn't know that this master has an affair with you?" Except for a few members of the class committee. The other students had never thought that the person who had been guiding them was the Overlord. Every time they saw Supreme Mo interacting intimately with their boss, they would feel extremely conflicted. Dizun is very good. Supreme Mo was also very good. Moreover, both of them were extremely good-looking men. Moreover, both of them doted on their boss to the heavens. Who should they help? Could he let Boss Qing Luo take both of them in? The Heavenly Academy's inter-class competition had officially started. Under the instruction of the dean, the students of the Heavenly Academy left the academy a day earlier and headed to the West Square for the competition. The inter-class competition was the highlight of every academy. It was equivalent to the midterm and final exams for students in the 21st century. For an academy, it was equivalent to a graduation exam. Naturally, he had to accept the observation and evaluation of the other academies, as well as the headquarters. The West Billow Plaza was about 200 to 300 li away from Three Springs City. The procession was majestic, parading the streets and promoting their presence. When he arrived at the West Wave Plaza, it was already close to noon. West Lawn Plaza was a special place that was often used for large-scale competitions. Because of this, 2 large residences similar to the Academy's dormitories were built far away from the Western continent. A man's mansion, a woman's mansion. It was specially provided for the participating academies to live in. Moreover, because there would often be academies coming here to set up competitions, a small town gradually formed in the vicinity of the Western continent. The entire West Wave Plaza was bustling with noise and excitement. On the first day, the director got the various classes masters to invite the students to stay in the mansion. Chapter 1053. Devil Class Students. Yiqing Luo didn't want the students who had seen the World Mercenary Group to recognize their identities. He specially asked Demo Xian to give each of them a simple disguise. The men and women lived in separate residences, and they were each assigned to the most remote courtyard. Yiqing Luo and the rest didn't mind. It didn't matter where he stayed. He would only be staying for 4 or 5 days anyway. Yiqing Luo didn't give them a chance to rest. After lunch, he called for a group of students to go to the back mountain of Shilon Square for pre-match warm-up training. Recently, the students had been training non-stop, training day and night. Compared to the students of the other classes, they looked dispirited and dispirited. The students of Devil Class were obviously much more spirited. After lunch, the other students were preparing for tomorrow's competition. As for the students of the Devil Class, they headed towards other places in a mighty formation. The headmasters and elders, as well as the onlookers, turned to look at them. He seemed to be guessing which class this student belonged to. He actually had to go out and exhaust his strength during the most important rest period? A useless class is indeed a useless class. Other than eating, drinking, and having fun, you guys can't do anything. A sharp voice came from not far away. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she looked over. He saw Shangguan Liuli and 7 to 8 students from Intermediate Profound Class 2 coming back with bags of all sizes. Clearly, he had just returned from the market and was preparing to rest. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but scoff. He did not know how Shangguan Liuli, this white-eyed woman, could be so thick-skinned to say such words. Seeing Yiqing Luo's sneer, Shangguan Liuli's expression changed immediately. What are you laughing at? Am I wrong? The competition will begin tomorrow, yet you still have the leisure to go out now. You're simply too foolish. The onlookers were enlightened. So these students are from the Devil class, which is known as the Waste class in the Heavenly Academy. Only the students from the useless classes would go out in groups during the most important break time. I don't know what's wrong with the Devil class this year, to actually want to participate in the interclass competition. Several spectators from other forces began to discuss in low voices. In this era, only the strong were respected. Even though they knew that Shangguan Liuli and the others were there, they still formed a small team and went to the market to have fun. However, when they saw the class that was called trash, they went to the market to play in group. Everyone naturally leaned towards Shangguan Liuli. But very quickly, a representative from another party whispered, "You guys don't know, I heard. During this year's Heavenly Academy enrollment, there was an extremely talented student who could be called as the second Overlord, who entered the Devil class. The second Venerable Sovereign? Are you kidding me? Someone with such great talent would still be assigned to the Devil class? The Heavenly Academy has been holding the title of the best academy for 5 consecutive years. Surely they wouldn't make such a low-level mistake, right?" Someone immediately shook his head in doubt. These were indeed unbelievable words. He could be called the second Dizun. How powerful would that person be? How could such a powerful person be assigned to a trash class? Was the Heavenly Academy going to ascend to the heavens? It's absolutely true. This student has a great background. You must have heard of her name before. The representative said mysteriously. Chapter 1054. What? The 7th young lady of the Yi clan? You mean that useless 7th miss whose fiancé was stolen by her own elder sister? I've heard of her. Someone screamed. I didn't expect her to be the 7th young lady of the Yi family. As one of the 4 great sects, Yiqing Luo was one of the future patriarchs. Once her name was announced, all the forces of the Western continent would know of it. Even the people from other continents had heard of Yiqing Luo's notorious name. Naturally, there were also people who knew Yiqing Luo's current reputation. She's the first one to break the Heavenly Academy's admission records. In just an hour, he had passed the entrance examination. And he has a close relationship with His Majesty. Yes. Do you still remember the earth-shattering battle in the tomb of King Ling last month? He mentioned what happened in the Ling King's tomb. There was no one who didn't know. That day, the divine artifact descended into the world. Countless forces went to the tomb of the Ling King just to snatch the divine artifact. Unexpectedly, they were attacked by the dark forces and suffered heavy casualties. This matter caused an uproar in the entire Western continent. Naturally, there was no one who did not know about it. That day, the person who obtained the divine weapon and summoned the divine dragon and the white tiger was the 7th young mistress of the Yi clan. When she said that, everyone's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was instantly filled with reverence and respect. The crowd looked at Yiqing Luo with sparkling eyes. He had a close relationship with Dizun. He could summon the supreme divine dragon. He could subdue the holy beast White Tiger. His talent must be extremely strong, heaven-defying, to the extent that no one could reach. The last battle in King Ling's tomb, it was Yiqing Luo who took action and subdued the Dark Forces people. With such a powerful person around, it was no wonder that the trash class dared to participate in the interclass competition. Wait, since the 7th young mistress of the Yi family is so powerful, why was she assigned to the Devil class? Don't tell me, That the Heavenly Academy's dean doesn't know how to look at a student's talent? The onlookers started to raise their doubts. Logically speaking, to be able to pass the Academy's admission assessment within half an hour and break the Heavenly Academy's record over the years. No matter what, he wouldn't be assigned to the Devil class, right? Everyone started to speculate about the principal's intentions. Shangguan Liuli's face turned pale. She originally wanted to ridicule Yiqing Luo for humiliating her. She had not expected that she actually pushed Yiqing Luo, making her the object of worship for the surrounding crowd. How could he feel at ease? Immediately, Shangguan Liuli said sourly, "The interclass competition is a team competition. So what if student Yi is the only one who is strong? As for the other students, they are still trash." These words were indeed reasonable. Even if Yiqing Luo was so strong that no one could match her. However, the competition between classes was a competition between classes. It was not an individual competition. "Student Yi, don't forget the blood oath between us." Shangguan Liuli's arrogant face was filled with a ruthless sneer. "With this bunch of trash, let's see how you're going to win." Yiqing Luo sneered. His eyes were cold. "It's our class. How we get first place is our business. Our class going out to play is also our business." She curled her lips and her eyes were filled with ambiguity. Student Shangguan is so concerned about the Devil class, could it be? Student Shangguan to me. She paused and didn't continue. But the onlookers all understood what she meant. Their gazes towards Shangguan Liuli were filled with disdain and ridicule. Chapter 1055. Shangguan Liuli was so embarrassed that her face flushed red. She was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She stared at Yiqing Luo resentfully as she tore her throat and sharply berated, "Who has any strange feelings towards you? How can you be so shameless?" Saying that, Shangguan Liuli rushed towards the direction of the mansion. She couldn't stay here any longer. She was afraid that she couldn't control herself and would make a move on Yiqing Luo. Not only was she unable to defeat Yiqing Luo, she was also humiliated by her. Because of this, she would be reprimanded by the academy and in more serious cases, she would be disqualified from the competition. But Shangguan Liuli's furious back view as she left. In everyone's eyes, it was because her thoughts were exposed and she fled in embarrassment. An Iroapan stood beside Yiqing Luo and laughed. "You're indeed Madame Qing Luo. Just a few words and you made Shangguan Liuli speechless." Yiqing Luo glanced at her. "The interclass competition is around the corner. We can't casually fight with other students and cause unnecessary trouble." Of course, the most important thing was, she didn't intend to waste her energy because of Shangguan Liuli. "Let's go," Yiqing Luo said calmly as she took the lead to pass the crowd and walked towards the rear mountain. The crowd gave way to her as they were filled with admiration and envy towards this young lady who had such ability at such a young age. After leaving the crowd, she walked for about 10 meters. Yiqing Luo's footsteps suddenly halted. Turning back, her gaze was fixed on a certain spot. But she saw that there were only a few ordinary crowd who were pointing at her with eyes filled with respect. Yiqing Luo frowned as she retracted her gaze. Could it be an illusion? Why did she feel as though someone was watching her? In the dark corner, a man dressed in a blood-red robe with a jade belt was staring fixedly at the young lady's back view as she retracted her gaze. His icy cold eyes were filled with a chilly demonic coldness. That extraordinary handsome face was emotionless, dressed in a flirtatious red. But his imposing manner was as cold as ice. But this combination, it didn't seem out of place. On the contrary, he felt that this man was born to wear a red robe. Until Yiqing Luo's back view completely disappeared before his eyes. The man then lowered his gaze and lowered his long eyelashes. A waist for 15 years. Suddenly there was a change, and she became so powerful? What kind of secret was hidden within? He would definitely find out the reason for Yiqing Luo's change. On the mountain behind West Lawn Square. This back mountain could also be considered as a training ground for the profound practitioners and students who had come to participate in the tournament, such as the magical beast forest or the heavenly training forest. There were quite a few profound practitioners at the periphery. Some were sightseeing, some were conversing, and some were taking a stroll. Seeing more than 60 young students dressed in the uniform of the Heavenly Academy, coming in majestically, those cultivators stopped in their tracks and looked over, sending Yi Qing Luo and the rest into the deep end of the rear mountain. These students are really hard-working. Tomorrow is the competition, and today they still have to participate in the training. The Heavenly Academy is indeed the best academy. The perseverance of these students is admirable. These profound practitioners were speaking. Then, he saw a group of students walking over. Their leader was a spoiled and willful young lady. She pulled one of them aside and asked, "Where did that bunch of trash go?" The profound practitioner who was being dragged furrowed his brows in displeasure. Just as he was about to break free from the female student's restraints, but he saw a student walking up from behind the female student. He raised his hand and a dagger was placed on his neck. The profound practitioner's eyes widened in shock as his trembling hand pointed towards the direction where Yi Qing Luo and the rest had left. What kind of student was this? Chapter 1056. By right, this afternoon was the last resting period before tomorrow's competition. She should let the students have a good rest. But Yi Qing Luo wasn't worried about this. Previously she asked Bei Ming Lu to refine these pills, which were all from the 100 pills refinement, to strengthen the body and replenish energy. Of course, this was purely to replenish energy and strength. This was also the pill which many of the students who were taking part in the competition often took. It wasn't considered as the competition's banned drug. Devil classes students didn't need to worry about being exhausted due to excessive training. As for the reason why Yi Qing Luo chose the rear mountain for the last training, it was because the last training was to train the class's students' teamwork. Although they had been working together for such a long period of time, they had also established a mercenary group to do missions together. The rapport between them, as compared to other groups, was indeed outstanding. But to Yi Qing Luo, these were far from enough. What she wanted was for these students to remember each and every companion's action and gaze. Of course, this was easier said than done. In her past life, Yi Qing Luo had always been a lone ranger and had never nurtured any so-called partners. Towards teamwork, she had heard those old fogies talk about it before. The method which Yi Qing Luo used was a method which those old fogies had once mentioned. The most cliché but the most effective. He tied a red ribbon around the legs of more than 60 students, trapping the 60 over students tightly together. On the ribbon, there was a bell hanging from every student. After the students were tied up, they moved their legs and that bell, jingle jingle, was extremely crisp and clear. Now, run one round around the 100-mile radius of the middle periphery. Yi Qing Luo said calmly from behind. Run? The students' faces were filled with puzzlement. So simple? Following that, they saw a black-furred leopard beast appearing behind them. The students instantly wailed. I knew it. Wouldn't be so simple. Shiju, spare us. Shiju raised its head and gave a long howl. That huge leopard body slowly arched up and with a leap, it chased after them. What the? Shiju, you're so cute, can't you go easy on us? Chasing after us just because of a disagreement. Little cutie Shiju, as a magical beast, you can't be so rough. The students screamed and screamed, but they still ran forward quickly. This kind of training where he was chased by Shiju and had to run upside down all over the field. This was their daily homework. But this time, one of their legs was tied with a red ribbon. More than 60 people were tied together. When he lifted his leg, there was not the slightest bit of tacit understanding. One after another, they staggered and fell to the ground with a crackling sound. Shiju pounced forward and pressed heavily on them. Although he had retracted his claws, he still had sharp teeth. However, this weight was enough to make the students cough uncontrollably. Yiqing Luo called Shi Ju back as she crossed her arms and looked at the students. Now do you understand the reason why I asked you to run one round? Understood. The students rubbed their sore spots and quickly adjusted their state of mind. They began to discuss how to run together. In less than an hour, these students were already able to walk and run together, and their speed was not slow either. Their gazes were all focused on the companions beside them. Then, he quickly adjusted his rhythm. Chapter 1057. After another 4 hours, the students' speed became faster and faster. Just like the usual training when they were chased by Shiju. Just like one person running. 60 over students ran in unison. Their actions were the same and their speed was the same. There was no flaw at all. After going one round around the entire middle circle, the students stood in front of Yiqing Luo delightfully. On their faces, not only were they complacent, their faces were filled with smiles. As though they were waiting for Yiqing Luo's compliment. Pft, pft. Standing beside Yiqing Luo, looking at these students' colorful expressions, Qiao Jin couldn't help but laughed out. Accompanying the laughter was Yan Xiaoyi. The two of them spoke in unison and laughed out at the same time. This tacit understanding made the two of them stop laughing. Their 4 eyes subconsciously intersected. Just their gazes met for a moment and the two of them shifted away at the same time. The atmosphere suddenly turned awkward. Those students who had smiles on their faces, waiting for compliments, also sensed the strange atmosphere. All of them kept the smiles in their eyes as they obediently stood upright. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she glanced sideways at the two people beside her, frowning slightly. The two of them. If this carried on, it would definitely affect the students' emotions. After all, the two of them were the main force of the students, and the role models in the students' hearts. Looked like she had to have a good talk with them tonight. Yiqing Luo took a step forward. All the students' gazes were concentrated on her. Yiqing Luo coughed lightly as a way to ease the atmosphere and divert the students' emotions as she said softly, "Very good, next, your challenge is to level up." She paused slightly. Her eyes congealed towards the students as she smiled sweetly. From now on, continue to run one round around the middle circle. The prerequisite is that the bells on your feet are not allowed to make any sound. The students were dumbstruck. After several breaths of silence, the students started to wail as they fell onto the ground. Boss Qing Luo, isn't your request a little too harsh? How can it not make any sound? So many bells. And the surroundings are filled with leaves and bushes. Even if we control the bells to not make any sound, the sound will be swept away by these external objects. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as a sliver of ridicule flashed past her eyes as she lightly swept past those students who were acting shamelessly on the ground. Feel that I'm forcing you? The students didn't answer, which could be considered as an admission. Yiqing Luo looked at a direction not too far away and saw that Mo Ying and Shi Ju had yet to return. He then said to Long Yunzhan, "Class monitor, let's try." Long Yunzhan understood and walked directly in front of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo took out a red ribbon with 2 bells on it and tied her and Long Yunzhan's legs together. Then, with a burst of Xian Qi, he sent out a palm wind that landed not far away. A thick and sturdy tree fell to the ground with a bang. Yiqing Luo pointed to the place where the tree had fallen and said calmly, "Class monitor and I will go there and come back. Open your ears and listen carefully." After saying that, she glanced at Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan nodded slightly. The two of them looked at the tree at the same time. In an instant, the two of them turned into 2 afterimages and headed straight for the tree. The students only felt a gust of cold wind blow past their cheeks, followed by another gust of cold wind. The two of them had already returned to their original spot, as though they had not moved at all. The speed was so fast that it was merely a blink of an eye. The students' hearts were deeply shaken. "Is there any sound?" Yiqing Luo untied their ribbons as her brows rose as she asked. Chapter 1058. Since we can do it, you can do it too. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose slightly as a trace of craftiness and ridicule flashed past her eyes. The students suddenly felt immense pressure. She could do it, class monitor could do it too. That was a matter of course. But if it were them, how could they possibly do it? Just at this moment, they heard a commotion from the magical beasts, as well as the magical beasts' roars. Not too far away, 10 extremely ferocious-looking low and middle-leveled magical beasts appeared. The students' expressions changed drastically as they had a thought in their minds. Indeed, they heard Yiqing Luo's voice, which was filled with laughter, melodious. This time, I'll let you off and not let Shiju chase after you. Change it to these low and middle-leveled magical beasts. Shiju's speed was extremely fast. Under the condition that the bell did not ring, 60 people moved forward at the same time. It was indeed as difficult as ascending to heaven. Yiqing Luo specially asked Mo Yuing and Shiju to go to the middle to invite 10 low-leveled magical beasts for help. These magical beasts' speed was slightly faster than ordinary wild beasts, just suitable for their training. Hence, the passing cultivators who were training saw such a shocking scene. A large group of students dressed in the Heavenly Academy's uniform screamed in a heart-wrenching manner as they ran forward in a horrendous manner. And behind them, 10 low and middle-leveled magical beasts were chasing after them crazily. At this moment, a few masters dressed in the Academy's robes were followed by 4 to 5 high profound Class 2 students. Walking right in front was a handsome man dressed in a blood-red robe with an expressionless face. The masters were surrounding that red-robed man with a flattering smile on their faces, as though they were talking about something. Suddenly, the high profound class students who were following behind exclaimed, "Vice President, look! Isn't that devil class's trash?" Everyone's vision turned over. It wasn't because of this student's exclamation, but the rumbling sound coming from the front was too eye-catching. Not too far away, 60 students were running wildly. The tinkling of the bell was extremely crisp, making their eardrums hurt. And behind those 60 students, 10 low and middle-leveled magical beasts were chasing after them. The headmaster's face darkened. "What's going on?" The high profound Class 2 student pursed his lips and chuckled. Devil class's trash is really worrisome. So many people were actually scared off by a few low-leveled magical beasts. What a disgrace to the Heavenly Academy. His tone was filled with contempt. Lu Shuiyu frowned as she looked at the devil class students who were being chased and screaming. A trace of astonishment flashed across his eyes. He could not sense any particularly strong profound qi from these devil class students. However, she was astonished by their speed. Of course, Lu Shuiyu didn't care about this speed. It's just a few low-level trash that can be easily killed, yet they were chased to this state. I really don't know where they get the confidence to participate in the interclass competition. Lu Shuilan lightly snorted. She held onto her sister's hand. "Sister, look at how useless they are and you're still worried, wanting to guard against the devil class. I say, you're just worrying for nothing." Lu Shuiyu did not reply. He had suffered so many losses in Yiqing Luo's hands. She really didn't believe that young lady would fight a battle that she had no confidence in. Yiqing Luo would be so confident in the interclass competition. It must be because she had a sure win method. But when she saw the low-leveled magical beasts chasing the screaming devil class students. Chapter 1059. This group of students, a master's face darkened as he carefully glanced at the man in red beside him. Seeing that he was still emotionless, the master was perturbed. The group of students howled and screamed as they ran past them, kicking up a cloud of dust and broken leaves. Only then did these teachers react, and quickly helped the man in red to block the sand and leave. Following that, a wave of middle and low-level magical beasts came chasing after them in an overbearing manner. Students of the devil class. Tomorrow is the competition, what are you all still doing here? The master could not take it anymore and reprimanded. He immediately went forward and prepared to deal with those low and middle-level magical beasts. Although he looked down on this useless class and this group of useless students. But after all, the Devil class was a class of the Heavenly Academy. Wearing the uniform of the Heavenly Academy, they represented the Heavenly Academy when they were outside. No matter what, they could not let this group of useless people embarrass the Heavenly Academy. However, before this teacher could take a step forward, a hand was placed on his shoulder, stopping him from moving. The master stopped in his tracks and turned his head. He saw the shoulder, the blood-colored wide-sleeve robe, which made one's heart feel inexplicably scared. The master's heart tightened as he stood straight. "Master Zhu?" The man in red squinted his cold eyes. "Let the students settle their own matters, there's no need for you all to do it." That master was stunned and immediately looked down. Master Zhu is right. The few masters looked at each other, not understanding. This Zhu Wu Xian who looked cold and emotionless, as if he was not the least bit interested in anything. He actually took the initiative to stop them and help the Devil class? The masters were perturbed, secretly speculating about Zhu Wu Xian's actions, but they could not figure it out. But the high profound Class 2 students at the side, when they saw Zhu Wu Xian stopping the masters and helping the Devil class, their eyes revealed a look of delight. Lu Xuelon whispered into Lu Shuiyu's ear, "Sister, does Master Zhu hate the Devil class too?" Lu Shuiyu glanced at her, warning her to shut up. Lu Xuelon pursed her lips. After last time, when she almost took over the position of vice president from Lu Shuiyu's hands, and after Lu Shuiyu snatched the position back, she didn't dare to have any crooked thoughts towards Lu Shuiyu. Seeing Lu Shuiyu's warning, she did not dare to speak again. She continued to discuss this matter with the other 3 female students behind her in a low voice. Lu Shuiyu looked coldly at the Devil class who was being chased by the magical beast. He glanced at Zhu Wu Xian from the corner of his eyes, only to see the expressionless red-shirt man staring fixedly at the direction where the Devil class had disappeared. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were emotionless. However, Lu Shuiyu still felt that something was wrong. Why would Zhu Wu Xian stop teacher from helping the Devil class deal with those magical beasts? Didn't he hate trouble the most and never bother with things that had nothing to do with him? Could it be that it was really as Lu Xuelon said? Zhu Wuxin hated the Devil class? The students of the headmaster had different feelings. Zhu Wuxin didn't pay any attention, and he didn't want to pay any attention. His gaze was fixed on the youths who were running in the distance. There was a faint ripple in his heart. These were her classmates. Was she using this kind of method to train these students? He could see that although these students were fleeing in a sorry state, their mouths were wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. But in every student's eyes, there was a resolute and fearless glow. How could a student with this kind of glow be trash? It was her. Was she changing these students? This thought did not make Zhu Wu Xian feel happy at all. On the contrary, his brows slightly furrowed. Chapter 1060. After a long period of energy exhaustion, these students gradually lost their stamina. But the thought of their companions beside them, thinking of the bells on their legs, thinking of the magical beasts behind them. Still, they mustered up their strong willpower and continued to charge forward. They tried their best to coordinate with their companions, not letting their bells make any sound. What they wanted was absolute tacit cooperation. What they wanted was to be fearless, persevering all the way to complete the target which Yi Qing Luo had set. Because they were Devil classes students. This kind of training continued all the way till 7 o'clock, which was around 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. Devil classes students then stopped in front of Yi Qing Luo with their heads full of sweat. They had completed Yi Qing Luo's mission. Under the pursuit of the mid- and low-leveled magical beasts, 60 over people ran together, but the bells didn't make any sound. looking at these youngsters who were obviously about to collapse onto the ground but still stood up stubbornly. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with a faint smile. Her pink lips curled slightly. "You've done very well, I'm proud of you." Ecstatic expressions immediately appeared on the faces of those young people, as though a day's hard work was worth it. Some youngsters even cried tears of joy. Yiqing Luo's forehead was filled with black lines as her lips twitched as she looked at Long Yunzhan. Isn't this a little too exaggerated? Getting a word of praise and recognition from her was like getting the whole world? This tears of joy, wasn't it a little too exaggerated? Long Yunzhan rarely curled his lips as his azure blue eyes were gentle. It's not exaggerated. Not knowing when it started. Yiqing Luo's existence was already the core of devil class. Her every word, every action, was able to stir up the emotions of all the students in the class. Her recognition. To the students, it was the recognition towards them. Yiqing Luo and the others were drenched in sweat as they prepared to leave the rear mountain. The sky was already dark and the number of people in the rear mountain was getting lesser and lesser. They had just reached the middle of the mountain when they saw 5 to 6 people coming forward. The person who was walking right in front was Tao Tao. "Qing Luo, I've finally found you." Tao Zi's expression was flustered as she swiftly rushed forward. "Qing Luo, it's bad, your brother has been kidnapped." The joy on everyone's faces instantly dispersed. "What did you say? What happened to Xiao Yu?" Yiqing Luo gripped the Peach's wrist, her expression sunk. Peach was panting heavily, with a thin layer of sweat on her forehead. It was obvious that she had been looking for her for a long time. She sped up and said, "I received a secret report from the 3,000 peach blossoms. Someone hired an assassin from the Hall of Assassins to kidnap Yi Fengyu. When I heard this news, I immediately went to Low Profound Class 2 to look for him, but after asking all the students, they said that after Fengyu returned to his dormitory, there was no trace of him." Yiqing Luo's heart tightened as her eyes turned severe. "Who is it?" "I've already asked the members of Peach Blossom 3000 to search for Fengyu's whereabouts. We should be able to get the news when we return to the dormitory," Peach replied immediately. Yiqing Luo nodded and called Shiju over as she flipped over and leapt onto Shiju's back. Immediately, he grabbed Peach with one hand and pulled her onto Shiju's back. "I'm going back to the dormitory first," Yiqing Luo said. Shiju turned into a bolt of lightning, swiftly vanishing before everyone's eyes. Long Yunzhan's eyes sunk slightly and without saying a single word, he speedily chased after Yiqing Luo's direction. Chapter 1061. Qiao Jin had just finished speaking when he suddenly reacted. His relationship with Yan Xiao Yi was no longer the same as before. She could do whatever she wanted with him. He loosened his grip stiffly. "I'm sorry." Yan Xiao Yi turned her face away and there was no trace of emotion on her pretty face. The atmosphere was awkward. Qiao Jin took a few quick steps forward. "You guys go back to the old mansion together. I'll go check on the class monitor first." With that, he tapped the ground with the tip of his toes and leaped into the trees, disappearing from sight. Shiju was extremely fast. In just a short moment, he had already arrived at the old dormitory. At this moment, the students were bustling with activity. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind blew past, and a huge leopard with pitch-black fur stopped at the entrance of the dormitory. This caused countless students to exclaim in surprise. Yiqing Luo's expression was cold as she flipped over and jumped down from the back of the beast. As soon as the peach landed on the ground, a student came forward and whispered something in her ear. Peach's face darkened. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly sank. "What's the matter?" 3,000 peach blossoms spies. Can't find where Fengyu was kidnapped. Peach frowned and said in a low voice, "I have people in the Hall of Assassins, but I still can't find out who the bidder is. I don't know where the killer who took the order has taken the hostage." It was the first time Peach had encountered such a situation. She could confidently say that she had eyes all over the country. As long as she wanted to know something, she could easily find it out. But, this time there was an accident. In Yi Qing Luo's mind, 4 words suddenly flashed past: black, darkness, force, power. Could it be someone from the dark forces had kidnapped Yi Fengyu? At this critical juncture the day before the match, was he trying to use Yi Fengyu to make her lose tomorrow's match? This was Shangguan Liuli? Someone who was involved with the underworld forces and wanted to win tomorrow's match. Only Shangguan Liuli. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her eyes were covered with frost. She quickly walked towards Shangguan Liuli's room. As soon as he entered the dormitory, he heard a commotion in front of him. The few masters were in a sorry state and fell to the ground in unison. There were also 2 elders who were desperately trying to stop something. Yi Qing Luo's thoughts were all on searching for Shangguan Liuli, questioning her brother's whereabouts. He was not in the mood to pay attention to this farce. However, a loud and furious voice could be heard. Motherf ****. How am I supposed to calm down when my disciple is missing? It's not like the person you're missing is your disciple. It's easy for all of you to talk. Get lost for this, daddy. This voice made Yi Qing Luo's footsteps halted. Sure enough, he saw a crazy old man dragging a terrified and crying female student toward the gate of the old dormitory. Mentor Gui Yu. Yi Qing Luo stepped forward. This person was none other than Old Man Gui Yu. As the teacher of the devil class, Old Man Gui Yu would naturally tag along if the devil class were to participate in the interclass competition. The moment he saw Yi Qing Luo, Old Man Gui Yu's furious expression eased up a little. He threw the female student in his hand towards Yi Qing Luo. Catch? Ask this daddy clearly if this daddy's disciple's disappearance was caused by her. She dares to touch my disciple, your father will definitely pull out her tendons. I didn't. I don't know anything. It's not me. Shangguan Liuli was so scared that her face was filled with tears. She shook her head in horror and struggled to break free from Yi Qing Luo's restraint. Chapter 1062. I don't know. Shangguan Liuli's face flushed red. The pain of deoxygenation made her fingers struggle to pry Yi Qing Luo's hand away. But how could her strength go against the raging Yi Qing Luo? Her struggle instead made Yi Qing Luo's fingers tighten even more. I ask you one more time, where is Xiao Yu? Yi Qing Luo said word by word. Her voice was deep and cold, as though it was squeezed out from between her teeth. I really don't know. I have been in the mansion. Shangguan Liuli's voice was getting weaker and weaker, her entire face had turned red. The elder by the side suppressed his anger. Student Yi, put student Shangguan down. How could she be so rude in front of them? Did Yi Qing Luo put them in her eyes? The anger from being humiliated by Old Man Gui Yu earlier was vented on Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she couldn't hear them, her eyes only saw Shangguan Liuli. You don't know? Then bring your ignorance to talk to the King of Hell. After saying that, her 5 fingers suddenly increased the strength. Shangguan Liuli felt a sharp pain in her throat. The suffocating feeling made her roll her eyes. Student Yi Qing Luo. The elder was furious. Old Man Gui Yu had embarrassed them in public, and this Xuexing didn't even obey the discipline. Not only the people from the Heavenly Academy were around. There were other forces and representatives from other academies. If he was treated so rudely by a student, he would definitely be ridiculed by the other academies. The 2 elders looked at each other, their figures swayed, one on the left and one on the right, grabbing towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed, a cold glint flowed in her eyes. However, with a slight glance, the 2 elders stopped their movements. My disciple hasn't been found and you dare to touch my disciple's sister. Old Man Gui Yu didn't give them any face, directly raised both his palms and sent the 2 elders flying. He strode to Yi Qing Luo, pointed at Shangguan Liuli and shouted, I tell you, hand over my disciple. Even if you want to die, I will not grant you your wish. I will pull out your tendons, peel off your skin, and remove your bones. Shangguan Liuli was in a daze from the choking, but she understood old man Gui Yu's words. She widened her eyes and shook her head weakly. I really don't know. I didn't. Even if I had the ability to kidnap Yi Fengyu, I wouldn't have been able to do so under the watchful eyes of so many teachers and elders. The elder who was sent flying by the side clutched his chest and stood up. After being beaten up by old man Gui Yu, their attitude had obviously eased up. That's right, the dormitory is heavily guarded. How could student Yi Fengyu's disappearance be related to student Shangguan? Another elder nodded in agreement. Student Yi Fengyu is probably just playing around outside the market. He'll be back later. Old man Gui Yu was still in a fit of anger, listening to their nonchalant conversation. He didn't feel comforted at all. On the contrary, he was burning with rage. He raised his hands and slapped each of them. He was so angry that he stomped his feet. I'm not blaming you. So many of you can't even protect my disciple. Is the Heavenly Academy feeding you bunch of trash for sh*t? Old man Gui Yu had always done whatever he wanted. He never thought about who his actions would offend or make a joke out of himself. His protective heart only wanted to protect the people he wanted to protect. The rest didn't matter. Yiqing Luo was the same. Yi Fengyu was missing. Chapter 1063. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as her pink lips curled into an eerie arc. Her slender fingers slowly moved from Shangguan Liuli's neck to her lower jaw. She tightened her grip and increased her strength. Shangguan Liuli's head was filled with cold sweat as she could clearly hear the sound of her lower jaw bones breaking. I only asked you where Xiao Yu is. I never said that he was kidnapped. How did you know that Xiao Yu was kidnapped? As though it came from the azura from hell, eerie and crisp. It entered her ears and entered her heart. It made Shangguan Liuli's heart thumped nonstop. She was trembling in pain as she endured the pain in her mouth and tried her best to explain. I guess. Long Yunzhan and Xiao Jin, who were following closely behind, immediately walked up when they saw this scene. Peach explained what had happened in a low voice. Long Yunzhan frowned slightly as his icy cold gaze fell onto Shangguan Liuli. If Yi Fengyu's disappearance had nothing to do with Shangguan Liuli. He didn't believe it. Xiao Jin didn't believe it either. Apparently, Shangguan Liuli had made up her mind not to reveal a single word. Perhaps she was sure that Yiqing Luo wouldn't dare to kill her, hence she was so unbridled. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned colder as she recalled that Yi Fengyu was kidnapped by the dark forces. Her heart was in a mess. In the hands of the dark forces. Her brother. Just at this moment, a few mercenaries dressed in mercenary group uniforms walked in from outside the mansion. Peach saw them and immediately went up to them. Any news of Fengyu? Those mercenaries shook their heads as their expressions were extremely ugly as they leaned towards Peach's ear and whispered a few words. Yiqing Luo's sharp ears heard the words devil class. Her expression congealed. What did you say? Peach's expression was steely green as she couldn't believe what she had heard. But now there was no time to be shocked or flustered. She hurriedly repeated what that mercenary had said. Devil class was attacked at the rear mountain. The students were all seriously injured. When she said that, it shocked the surrounding crowd as all of their expressions changed. Those two elders and the few masters were so shocked that their faces turned pale. Students were seriously injured? If this matter were to spread out, how much damage would it cause to the Academy's reputation? That group of students from Devil Class were really worrisome. Yiqing Luo's fingers, which were locked onto Shangguan Liuli's, slowly loosened. She looked at Peach expressionlessly, her eyes as calm as still water. He clearly didn't have any emotions. However, it made one feel as if they were 10,000 miles of icebergs, and the frost had turned into ice. It made one feel inexplicably fearful. Shangguan Liuli broke free from Yiqing Luo's restraints as her eyes overflowed with a sliver of black qi. The corners of her mouth twitched, revealing a sinister smile. This time, she wanted Yiqing Luo to not be able to make a comeback. Shi Ju. The clear voice was filled with killing intent. That huge leopard quickly ran over. Yiqing Luo flipped over and leapt onto Shi Ju's back, as her pair of hazy eyes looked towards Shangguan Liuli, who was hiding in the crowd, laughing sinisterly. Yiqing Luo didn't conceal her murderous intent. Her charming eyes were like a hurricane, as if it wanted to devour everything. She opened her mouth, word by word, coming out from the slits of her teeth. Shangguan Liuli, you've successfully touched my reverse scale. I will make you regret coming to this world. Saying that, the leopard had already sped up, dashing into the horizon, towards the rear mountain. Right from the start, the Dark Forces' motive was the Devil Class's students. More accurately, it was Shangguan Liuli's motive. No matter if the Devil Class's students were a threat to her or not, she would first cripple these students. Chapter 1064. Using the news of Yi Fengyu's disappearance to lure her away. Taking the chance to strike Devil Class's students at the rear mountain. Although the current Devil Class was already very strong, but against the ruthless and merciless Dark Forces or experienced killers, there was still a long way to go. If Devil Class fell into those people's hands, it would only lead to death. The leopard beast's speed was extremely fast, and in a blink of an eye, it had already reached the rear mountain. A thick stench of blood filled the air. Shi Ju followed the stench of blood and sprinted over. It saw Devil Class's students lying on the ground halfway up the mountain. Under the cold moonlight, the ground at the rear mountain was cracked and the trees had collapsed. It had long been leveled to the ground. The ground was filled with blood and the dried leaves had coagulated. Yiqing Luo's eyes were glaring red. Boss Qing Luo. Some students saw Yiqing Luo's figure and struggled to get up from the ground, weakly calling out her name. What's going on? Yiqing Luo's voice was cold and quiet. But for no reason, it gave off a terrifying aura. This was the place she had rushed back to when she found out that Yi Fengyu had gone missing. In other words, after she found out that Yi Fengyu had been kidnapped, she immediately rushed back. The Dark Forces people then took action on Devil Class's students. In other words, the Dark Forces people most probably had their eyes on them right from the start. She actually didn't notice. Sorry, I didn't protect everyone well. A weak voice was heard from the side. Yiqing Luo frowned as she flew towards the direction of the voice. Squatting down, Yiqing Luo helped her up. That petite young lady, from head to toe, was not in a good state. She didn't even have the energy to stand. Her exquisite face was filled with scars. Xiao Yi. Yiqing Luo's throat choked. Her palm trembled as she hugged the young lady in her arms tightly. Yan Xiao Yi must have suffered such a serious injury because she was protecting everyone. Yiqing Luo looked at the side, at Mo Yuing, who had long fainted as she was helped up by the other students. A burst of anger surged from the bottom of her heart. Sister! Kitty Li called out to Yiqing Luo crisply. The face which was smeared with blood, when he saw Yiqing Luo, his crystal-bright gem-like eyes revealed a luster. Yiqing Luo carefully put Yan Xiao Yi down and immediately walked towards Kitty Li. He noticed that Kitty Li's wounds weren't light either. Especially her hands, the joints had been severely fractured. It was obvious that the joints of his fingers had been broken by someone. The people from the Dark Forces had actually treated them like this. These children were only 15 or 16 years old. The underground forces were actually so ruthless. Long Yunzhan and Xiao Jin, who had rushed over, saw the youths lying on the mountainside. His eyes were filled with a storm. If they hadn't left with Yiqing Luo, these students wouldn't have met with such a situation. Xiao Yi. Xiao Jin's pupils constricted as he looked at Yan Xiao Yi, who was covered in scars, and he swiftly rushed to her side and pulled her into his embrace. His pitch-black eyes were filled with worry and fear. The hand that was holding Yan Xiao Yi was trembling non-stop. Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi. The scene in the Ling King's tomb appeared in his mind again. Qiao Jin seemed to see the scene of Yan Shaoyi's life hanging in the balance. His heart felt a dull pain. His arms subconsciously tightened around her delicate body. Yan Shaoyi's blood-stained eyelashes fanned slightly. She shut her eyes as she quietly leaned into Qiao Jin's embrace. Chapter 1065. Yiqing Luo stood there expressionlessly. Her gaze swept across the 60 youngsters on the ground. None of them were in good condition. Their green and white uniforms were dyed red by the fresh blood. Qing Luo. Long Yunzhan stood by her side, calling out her name softly. Seeing devil classes students being treated in such a manner, he who had always been emotionless was filled with rage. But when he saw the expressionless Yiqing Luo, he worriedly creased his brows. Qing Luo, calm down, this is their conspiracy. Yiqing Luo's gaze didn't move, her voice was as calm as water. I'm very calm. But that voice seeped out a thick murderous intent. Yes, she was calmer than anyone else. She wouldn't be rash to go around looking for the dark forces, to seek revenge for the students. She was the main force in the students' hearts. If her heart was in a mess, the students' hearts would also be in a mess. The dark forces only wanted to stop Devil Class from taking part in the interclass competition. So that Shangguan Liuli could win? No. The dark forces were definitely not that kind-hearted. Just for a Shangguan Liuli, they would go to war, not hesitating to expose their own identities? Probably. The dark forces' motive was because of her and Shangguan Liuli's blood oath. To destroy her profound jade heart. The dark forces wanted to snatch her profound jade heart from her once again. Presumably, her profound jade heart would be of great use to the King of Darkness. Previously, when Guardian Eagle and the director conversed on the second floor of the library pavilion, they had mentioned about her. The dark forces wanted her. This is... Devil Classes students, what's going on? 10 Overmasters behind him raised their torches and rushed to the rear mountain. On seeing the students' serious injuries, they were stunned on the spot. Following them, there were quite a number of students who were watching the commotion. In just a moment, the matter of Devil Class being attacked at the rear mountain had spread throughout the entire West Lake Square. This matter naturally alarmed the 4 masters from the main courtyard. It attracted a huge amount of attention. After returning to the dormitory, the Heavenly Academy's director immediately arranged for doctors to bandage the students' wounds. This time Devil Class was attacked. It's our Heavenly Academy's fault for not protecting the students properly. The Heavenly Academy will definitely give you an explanation. The director's face was dignified. The Devil Class students being attacked is just an opportunity. The other party's target is definitely the Heavenly Academy. I hope that all of the students will pay attention to their own safety. Do not leave the academy carelessly and act alone to avoid being ambushed. In other words, he was trying to push the responsibility of the attack on the Devil Class onto the Devil Class. After the Devil Class reached the dormitory, they grouped up and headed to the back mountain. Furthermore, he had made a fool of himself in the back mountain, being chased by a low-level magical beast. All the students knew about this. He immediately felt that the dean's words made sense. If he wasn't a student of the Devil Class, he wouldn't have insisted on running to the back of the mountain, and even caused such a huge ruckus there. How could he be targeted by the Heavenly Academy? Not only caused other academies and representatives of other forces to point fingers at the Heavenly Academy. Even they, the students, were being discussed incessantly by others. No one pitied the Devil Class, everyone was blaming the Devil Class. This was the effect that the dean wanted. Of course, it was impossible to shirk responsibility completely. Chapter 1066. The doctors behind her carried their medicine boxes and walked forward. Just as they were about to get close to the Devil Class students to check on their injuries, all of a sudden, a whirlwind separated the doctors from each other. Yiqing Luo looked at the director expressionlessly as she spoke in a cold voice. "Thank you, director, for your concern. The director's expression congealed. Student Yi, now is not the time to throw a tantrum. These children's injuries are serious, don't delay their treatment. No need. She calmly spat out her words, not giving any face to the director. The director's face sunk. Yiqing Luo was usually arrogant in the academy, and he had turned a blind eye to it. But in front of so many people, she even gave him, the director's face. Wouldn't it be a joke to the outsiders? His arrogance flared up as he shouted sternly, "This principal knows that the students of Devil class were attacked and you're feeling upset, but the injuries on these students can't wait any longer. If you continue to obstruct me, don't blame me for locking you up in the dungeon for the students' health." Yiqing Luo raised her eyes. Her long and narrow eyes were devoid of emotions. She stared straight at the director. Her beautiful face was calm and tranquil like still water. But it made one's heart turn cold. Even the director, who had been through all kinds of storms, was stunned by this pair of eyes. He opened his mouth, but his voice seemed to be stuck in his throat. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled upwards, forming an extremely cold arc. Just as she was about to open her mouth, an elegant voice interrupted her. "Since Student Yi isn't willing to let these doctors bandage the children's injuries, then let me treat these children's injuries." A handsome man in a white robe walked over slowly. The fluttering robe made him look like a celestial being, as though he was a deity. The entire crowd was silent for a moment before the director reacted. Supreme Mo, the other teachers, elders and students immediately bowed respectfully and greeted. Supreme Mo Dmo Xian waved his hand and walked directly to Yiqing Luo's side. "Student Yi, what do you think?" On seeing Dmo Xian's appearance, Yiqing Luo's tensed heart finally relaxed a little. Her cold eyes also softened. She lowered her eyes and didn't respond. She took it as a tacit agreement to Dmo Xian's words. Yi Feng Yu's disappearance, the devil class students being attacked. These matters were like a 1,000-catty boulder, pressing down on her heart. She wanted to pounce into Dmo Xian's arms, wanting to draw the energy from him to hold on. But under the watchful eyes of so many people, she couldn't do such a thing. Yiqing Luo hadn't realized it herself. Unknowingly, she had become more and more reliant on Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian gazed at Yiqing Luo's curly eyelashes, casting a long and narrow shadow under his eyelids, covering those eyes that could charm all living things. Dmo Xian sighed softly. He understood Yiqing Luo's feelings towards these students. He understood Yiqing Luo's current feelings. At the same time, he was glad that his girl did not lose her mind because of her anger and seek revenge from the dark forces everywhere. Her state of mind was so strong that even he was ashamed of his inferiority. He resisted the urge to pull Yiqing Luo into his arms as his solemn peach blossom eyes looked towards the director. "Since Supreme Mo is going to treat these students personally, I naturally have no objections." The director saw Supreme Mo standing out to speak, and he immediately echoed in a low voice, "I need an independent courtyard, no one is to disturb me." Dmo Xian ordered calmly. The director accepted the order and took a look at Yun Xiang. Chapter 1067. In the independent courtyard, Yiqing Luo arranged all the students into 3 rows in the courtyard. She specially asked Bei Ming Lu to refine the internal injury pills and fed them to each of them. Long Yunzhan and Xiao Jin then helped these students to apply the medicine and bandage their wounds. Yen Xiaoyi, Kitty Li and Mo Yuing were the most seriously injured. The 3 of their injuries were personally treated by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was applying the ointment on Yen Xiaoyi's scars when her wrist was suddenly pulled by her, Qing Luo. Yiqing Luo slowly moved her hand away as she said softly, "Don't move." "I'm sorry." Yen Xiaoyi's voice was very weak. "They ran away and they brought the corpses of the other dark forces away." The appearance of the dark forces was too sudden. They had yet to react in time when they were attacked by the dark forces as they abandoned their helmets and armor. With the cooperation of the few of them, they killed a few dark forces men. But in the end they had no way to protect those students as they were beaten up by the Dark Force's guardians till they didn't even have the energy to stand up. If it wasn't for the fact that Peach Blossom 3000's eyes discovered the scene at the rear mountain and swiftly reported it to Peach Blossom 3000, there was a possibility that they would die in the hands of the Dark Forces. Yiqing Luo caressed the stray hair on her forehead as she comforted her gently. "You've done very well. No matter, take good care of your injuries and leave the rest to me." Yan Xiaoyi took a deep breath, but it caused her wound to be in extreme pain. She was in so much pain that her eyebrows creased. Yiqing Luo was about to inject profound qi into her to ease the pain. Her shoulder was covered by a large palm as a man's deep voice rang beside her ear. "You still need to take care of the others, let me do it." Yiqing Luo turned back and met with a face which wasn't considered as handsome, but that pair of deep pupils made one feel as though they had fallen into an abyss. It was Qiao Jin. She nodded and passed Yan Xiaoyi to him. She had just stood up when she heard a student holding his injured arm as he asked in a low voice, "Boss Qing Luo, for tomorrow's competition, we—" This question attracted the other students' gazes towards Yiqing Luo. "Such a huge matter has happened, the interclass competition should be delayed, right? After all, we are the class that will be taking part in the competition." Qiao Jin frowned. "I won't." Yiqing Luo's eyes seemed to be swirling with a whirlpool which made one fearful. The Academy's interclass competition has already been announced and it will officially start tomorrow. Various forces from all over the world have come and representatives from various academies. It's impossible that because of us, a trash class, the competition will be delayed. The students' bodies stiffened. Then tomorrow, if there was no delay, how could they participate in the competition in this state? The reputation of the devil class was not important. It didn't matter that they were still labeled as trash. Most importantly, the blood oath that Yiqing Luo and Shangguan Liuli had made. If she was unable to win, wouldn't Yiqing Luo be? They didn't dare to think further. A student stumbled down from the makeshift wooden mat and stubbornly tried to stand up. However, the wounds on his body made it extremely strenuous for him. The young man's face was covered in cold sweat as he endured the intense pain. But he stubbornly stuck out his chest. "Boss Qing Luo, I can still fight. I can participate in tomorrow's match." The other students also propped themselves up, wanting to climb up from the wooden mat. Some simply couldn't stand properly and fell down again. However, those stubborn young faces were filled with determination and unwillingness to admit defeat. "Boss, I can fight too." "Right. I can fight too." Chapter 1068. Looking at these youngsters, their stubborn and strong looks, Yiqing Luo's heart seemed to have been pierced by a needle, fiercely. The luster in her eyes dimmed slightly, flowing with a chilly intent. She clenched her fists tightly, trying hard to control her own emotions. She must not be impulsive. At least now, in front of the students, she absolutely must not be impulsive. "If you still don't cooperate with the treatment, let's see how you're going to enter the battlefield tomorrow." A mellow and hoarse voice rang gently, suppressing all the students' agitation. A warm palm was placed on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. The familiar sandalwood scent seeped into her nose. It made Yiqing Luo's agitated heart gradually calm down. Her tensed-up body slowly softened, leaning towards the man behind her. She actually wasn't as strong as she looked on the surface. She had been calmly arranging everything because she knew very well. She must not be flustered and must not fall. Otherwise, the youngster's willpower would also change along with her. "Master Mo, your meaning is, tomorrow." The students heard the meaning in Dmo Xian's words, as their eyes revealed a joyous expression. Dmo Xian nodded lightly. "I have a risky idea which can allow you to be like ordinary people for the next half a month, to stand on the competition arena, to take part in the competition." 60 over pairs of eyes, all looked towards Dmo Xian. In their eyes it was filled with hope. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly felt a sense of nervousness. Her slender brows creased tightly as she grabbed Diamo Xian's collar. You can't be. That's not considered as the competition's banned drug. Diamo Xian caressed Yiqing Luo's silky hair as he pulled her into his embrace as he spoke in a warm voice. In a while, someone will send the medicine back. Those medicinal pills can speedily heal all the injuries on the body, but the medicinal effect can only last for half a month. Half a month was enough. The interclass competition was split into 4 rounds: preliminary round, semi-finals, finals and grand finals. The time limit was roughly around half a month or so. That medicine's side effect. Xiao Jin lowered his eyes as he looked at Yan Xiaoyi in his embrace, as he asked in a low voice. Diamo Xian's gaze was calm as his expression remained gentle. Half a month later, you will be suffering from the injuries now, 100 times, 1,000 times of pain. Everything had a price. After taking the elixir, the wounds on their bodies, as well as the ailments in their bodies, would be healed in an instant. However, half a month later, they will suffer psychological and physical pain. No way. Yiqing Luo's expression changed when she heard that. This method is too risky. I cannot accept it. Such a price was something that these youths who had yet to completely mature were unable to bear. I agree. It's all right. It was just 1,000 times more painful. Even if it's 10,000 times, I can still endure it. I am willing to accept. Those youngsters who usually listen to Yiqing Luo's arrangements opened their mouths to stop Yiqing Luo's decision for the first time. They clenched their fists and looked at Diamo Xian unwaveringly. Supreme Master Emo? We are willing to take the pill. We want to participate in the interclass competition. That kind of pain isn't just physical pain. Before Yiqing Luo could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by an icy cold voice. Qing Luo, we can take it. Chapter 1069. Qing Luo, please. Don't stop us. We've worked so hard for so long to protect you, to protect everyone, to protect the devil class which belongs to us. If we really give up now, what's the meaning of our persistence? Even if I really can't hold on for half a month, I will absolutely not regret it. At least I've fought hard for you. The students' eyes were filled with determination as they looked at Yiqing Luo. After a long time, Yiqing Luo was defeated. If it was her, she would also choose to endure thousands of times more pain in exchange for this, to fight for the person she cared about. She couldn't reject their hearts to fight for her, nor could she stop their persistence. I will accompany you. Yiqing Luo slowly curled her pink lips. This was after they found out that Yi Fengyu had gone missing and Devil Class was attacked. It was the first smile with warmth. In less than 1 hour, someone from the Imperial Palace sent over 2 bottles of medicinal pills. Diamo Xian passed it to Long Yunzhan and Xiao Jin, letting the students consume it. Looking at the students touching their wounds in surprise as they gradually recovered, her emotions were extremely complicated. This is their choice, you don't need to feel guilty. Diamo Xian had appeared beside her, with one arm around her shoulder, with me around, Xiao Yu and everyone. We'll be fine. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips, as she buried her face into his chest. Her hands tightly wrapped around his firm waist. Diamo Xuanhuan hugged her body tightly. As for little Yu's side, I will let the people from the Imperial Palace search everywhere, and also try to find the nest of the dark forces in Nirvana Realm. You just need to focus on bringing everyone to watch the interclass competition. Amen. Yiqing Luo responded to Diamo Xian's words. The dark forces actually dare to touch the people around me, they have already touched my bottom line. The dark forces schemed against her, hurt her. She wouldn't have such huge emotions, only waiting for the best opportunity to return the favor 100 times over. But to hurt the people around her, she absolutely couldn't tolerate it. The interclass competition was brought forward. It must be related to the King of Darkness. If they won first place, they would have the chance to find out the location where the King of Darkness was sealed. She twitched her lips, as her eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Didn't the King of Darkness want to break the seal? She wanted to let the King of Darkness taste despair. He wanted the King of Darkness to regret his actions today for the rest of his life. Lil Luor. Dmo Xian's palm covered her eyes. The man's deep and gentle voice rang beside her ear. I've said it before. Don't show such an expression when you're by my side. Those eyes were devoid of emotion. However, it was cold and ruthless to the point that it caused him to feel a chill in his heart. He didn't want to see any murderous intent or hatred in Yiqing Luo's seductive eyes. Yiqing Luo did not reply. Her long, curly eyelashes swept across his palm. Slowly, her tense body leaned into his embrace again. She closed her eyes and forcefully suppressed the anger and murderous intent in her heart. With Dmo Xian and the 3,000 peach blossoms, news of Yi Fengyu's whereabouts should be obtained soon. What she needed to do was to strive for victory in the interclass competition tomorrow. After staying silent for a moment after Yiqing Luo's emotions stabilized, she raised her eyes and looked at Dmo Xian. I want to go somewhere. I'll go with you. He knew where she was going. Chapter 1070. The night was cold and the entire dormitory was dead silent. The stars in the sky flickered, as if shrouded in a layer of dark curtain, making one feel inexplicably depressed. Two figures flitted across the sky and finally stopped in a dormitory room. One of the petite figures came close. She looked into the room through the open window. She saw Shangguan Liuli alone, sitting on the wooden chair with a face full of fear, trembling all over. And in front of her, there was only a man in a black robe, with a hood covering his head. This dressing was exactly the Dark Forces man. Yiqing Luo looked at the right arm of the black robe. On the black robe, there was a tiny dragon totem embroidered, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as if it wanted to overturn the clouds and overturn the sea. This was the symbol of a protector. Ah Xian, the Dark Forces protector. Yiqing Luo mouthed silently. Dmo Xian's gloomy eyes were as deep as the sea. He nodded and hugged Yiqing Luo's slender waist. But in the blink of an eye, the two had quietly sneaked in through another window. The Shangguan family must have specially arranged for Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli's room was extremely spacious, divided into 2 floors, inner room and outer hall. Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo were at the corner of the outer hall. From this angle, they could clearly hear the conversation between Shangguan Liuli and the black-robed protector, as well as their actions. Where did you lock him? Shangguan Liuli lowered her voice and asked uneasily. You don't need to know. The black-robed protector replied impatiently. If there is nothing important, please do not release the blackbird, so as not to expose our identity. I have something important, that's why I'm looking for you. Shangguan Liuli's emotions were unstable. She grabbed the black-robed protector's hand. I just almost died, do you know? That woman wanted to kill me. The black-robed protector shook off her hand. His tone was extremely impatient. If she is a smart person, she won't kill you. Shangguan Liuli listened to his casual words, and then thought of herself. She almost died in Yiqing Luo's hands. Her heart suddenly felt indignant. She pounded the table and stood up. What do you think I am? What do you mean by that woman is a smart person? What if Yiqing Luo really killed her in anger? What do you mean by cooperating with me? I think you're just using me on purpose. Shangguan Liuli was infuriated. You're the one who asked me to use Yiqing Luo to lure Yi Fengyu out, and then let the killers from the killer hall kidnap Yi Fengyu. Now that something has happened and was discovered by Yiqing Luo, you want to push me out to be a scapegoat? Believe it or not, I'll go and tell the dean right now that Yi Fengyu was kidnapped by your dark forces by bribing the Hall of Assassins. She was so angry that she didn't know what to say. The fear of almost losing her life made her unable to control her rationality. Pa! A slap landed on Shangguan Liuli's face. Shangguan Liuli was sent flying and crashed into the wall. A trace of blood spilled from the corner of her mouth. The black-robed protector stood up and released his aura. He looked coldly at Shangguan Liuli and said, "If not for you, foolish woman, how could she know that Yi Fengyu's disappearance was related to you? An idiot who couldn't do anything right but was good at spoiling things. I really don't know why his lord wants to keep this woman alive. Just based on this kind of big-breasted brainless woman, did she dare to put herself in the position of a partner? She even dared to point fingers at him and act so arrogantly? If it wasn't for the fact that his lord wanted to keep her alive,